Salt is formed in the lagoon, and then they mine it. So, clear case for conflict.
Another former managing director of the Minerals Commission, Dr. Peter Claver Aqua, confirms this.
Now, if you look at this map, as I have already indicated, it was necessary for the modern technology to move the brine or the seawater from stage to stage, that's sequentially, in order to attain the quality that was wanted and also to increase the yield. But the traditional method required that the seawater will be held, if you like, in the lagoon till it crystallized out. So that was a contradiction in terms of technology.
Misconceptions about the perceived ill intentions of large corporations have been known to exacerbate conflicts. The locals of Ada couldn't be an exception. Ernest Kublenu, the secretary for Ada Youth Forum for Development, has long diagnosed this conception.
The perception of people that once the lagoon is commercialized, a lot of people are going to lose their livelihood, a lot of people are going to be thrown out of job, a lot of people are not going to get their basic source of income. I would say it is as a result of the fact that people really don't understand the issues.
Different families claiming ownership of the concessions wouldn't allow smooth operations of the companies. Mr. I found the situation complicated negotiations and investments.
So when it came to negotiating with owners of resources, it became even more complicated than in other areas where you just talk to a chief.
Imagine an investor coming in with all the necessary implements and whatever to carry on with the project for the success of the people.
80% of our lands are owned by families, tools, and individuals, not Ghana government. Ghana government has between 18 to 20% of the land in this country. We have to deal with different families, different tools. Some they have conflicts, they have court cases, which makes it very frustrating for an entrepreneur or a business person who wants to exploit it.
Always there's a problem. One clan will say this, another clan will say that. And so investors are always shy to put their money in the Songo.
A major impediment to the salt industrialization drive was the deeply rooted belief by locals that the lagoon was their exclusive inheritance, a legacy passed down through generations of salt harvesters. Gabriel Morte, former secretary of the Ada Cooperative Salt Winners Union, affirmed the perception.
About 2 centuries back, when our great-grandfathers were mining here, and we still hope to continue mining in the lagoon. And in fact, we are not going to give way to anybody who will like to infiltrate our efforts.
Mr. Quino observed the misconception made it very difficult for investors.
You've pumped in money, you have invested, you've taken loans to produce, but they can come in and harvest the salt, take the salt away. And that was a constant problem. They think they have a right to their natural resource, so they'll come in and take the salt.
Chief Director at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, Professor Patrick Agbesinyale, has also been worried about the development.
The local communities have been sentimentally attached to the resource in such a way that arrangements for the exploitation of this resource have been very, very difficult. You can't say that Obuasi or Ashanti people will lay claim to their gold and say that, hey, the gold belongs to them, so we cannot mine. Private investor can mine the gold. The gold is mined for the benefit of the whole country.
The earliest form of law that was promulgated around the Songo salt was Act 153, which has now defined salt as a mineral. Even though it was a passing reference, it said that governments, apart from the free carried interest it had in all mineral operations, could acquire further interest. For other minerals, it was up to 20%. For salt, it was higher than that, up to 45%. Salt therefore became part of the mineral arsenal of the country. That means the state can more or less acquire the land like it can for gold or other minerals. Songo Salt had over 40,000 acres of land, and as with many lands in most parts of the country, there were encroachments.
The families that has leased the land to the company were constantly coming back and making demands other than what was legally due to them under the lease that they had granted the company.
Mr. Kuglenu also witnessed it.
They became so aggressive to the extent that it became a banter between the new or the emerging companies and the, locals.
People continue to invade the Songo.
Adame bote panimi ni alaje nwe keke amehon tomo noko ni wocho ajuo atawo nya ke nwe ba fe tomo community ngo nya ba boni hamo.
In 1986, as a result of these confrontations, a woman was accidentally shot by a police officer in her house, an incident which was linked to vacuum salt. Leon Apentin would clarify.
The local inhabitants then were starting to interfere in our concession, which we tried to protect. We sought to protect our concession by calling the police at various times in order to keep away the intruders onto our concession. And unfortunately, there was one incident, it was 1985-86, where the police were called by management at the site that some local inhabitants were stealing salt from our concession.
Nagbamo mie ni security ko itwatu. Tu eni twawo ni shot eni ha ni tu e chomi.
That is what actually happened, but it wasn't vacuum salt who killed her or the vacuum salt were harassing people in the area. We rather were creating job opportunities for people in the area and were developing an industry in the area.
In response to the disturbances experienced in the late 1980s, the government intervened by establishing the EMISA Commission of Inquiry in 1986 to thoroughly investigate the situation. A Ghanaian technical committee, in collaboration with ESUMAT, a technical team from Cuba, prepared recommendations and devised a master plan culminating in the enactment of PNDC Law 287 in 1992. This legislation nullified all existing mining leases within the Songo Lagoon area and vested the land under the presidency for the benefit of the people of Adda. The Salt Development Project Task Force was formed to manage the affairs and started financing on the 1st of October 1992. During the Kufuor administration, within the framework of the President's Special Initiative on Salt, the land use plan was developed by Ghanaian consultants, Kese Tego and Associates. With the aid of Brazilian experts, this initiative aimed to facilitate the industrial production of salt in Adda by proposing the relocation of all communities surrounding the Songo Lagoon. The plan was, however, rejected by the people of Adda. During the Atta Mills administration, extensive consultations were undertaken with the chiefs and clan heads of Adda concerning the engagement of private investors. However, these efforts were hindered by local resistance stemming from concerns about potential disruption to their livelihoods. Furthermore, the Private Enterprise Foundation became involved during this period, providing sponsorship for a national salt strategy, with the Salt Bill being one of its integral components. President John Mahama largely followed the strategic framework established during the Atta Mills administration, enabling the participation of investors like Aliko Dangote. These three policy plans proposed diverse and sometimes conflicting strategies for the development of salt resources in Ghana, with none being implemented. For nearly 4 decades, the absence of commercial salt production hasn't augured well for the survival of the mine. Stakeholders observe fast deterioration of the mine in recent times.
The only thing that has restrained and constrained Adda, Songo from being what it ought to be, is this community, hot problems and misunderstanding.
Nine akufa the government eba lele wa ninale no akela akwe boni songo fi keje rolling time na fite songo.
Divisional Queen of the Royal Adibiawe clan, Nana Adiki Manyanyo Adi the First, is worried.
The sad part of it is that the lagoon is spoiling. There was this NGO who came to do some research about the lagoon, and they were like, within the next 5 years, we won't have any lagoon in Adda again. And 3 years is already gone. So we have 2 years to either repair the Songok or lose it forever.
According to Nana Adi the First, chiefs of the area therefore called on President Akufo-Addo to intervene as the livelihood of the locals were at stake.
Authorities led by the 4 Oko clans, who are the Alodia owners of the lagoon and its adjoining lands, with the paramount chief, went to the president and pleaded that if possible, he should take the IMC from there and give it to a strategic investor who is one of our own.
That person was Dr. Daniel Macaulay, a Ghanaian businessman and philanthropist. He was installed as the development chief of Adda in 2017 with the name Nene Kabu Kurantin I. His company, Electrochem Ghana Limited, specializes in salt and chlorine alkali production. Daniel Macaulay obtained a 15-year lease from local traditional authorities and governmental approval to mine salt in the Adda Songo Lagoon. Divisional Chief of Lomo Biawi, Nene Lomo IV, is happy.
This is the first time that a concession is ratified by government, and then the community chiefs or the traditional council has decided to also have their own way by preparing documents and then sign with the investor.
The project was officially commissioned by President Akufo-Addo on August 30th, 2023.
After many years of disputes which prevented the exploitation of salt at the site, work has finally started, and salt will be mined on a large commercial scale. With its initial ability to produce some 650,000 metric tons of salt per annum, and expanding its productive capacity to 1 million metric tons this year, and to 2 million metric tons by 2027, at 99.9% purity, the Electrochem salt mine will be the biggest salt-producing facility in the whole of Africa.
Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, Wamkele Mene, talks about the importance of salt industrialization in Africa.
When this plant is fully operational, we shall be in a position to export up to 50 million metric tons of salt to the rest of the continent as well as the ECOWAS region. In so doing, this plant will be positioning Africa to positively respond to the challenge of food insecurity, industrialization, and will enable all of us as Africans to say that, and to say so with credibility, that indeed we are seizing the moment that the AFCFTA is presenting to all of us. We shall work together with the MACDAN group to ensure that we deploy an appropriately tailored import substitution strategy. The AFCFTA offers a market of 1.3 billion people, with a combined GDP today of 3.4 trillion United States dollars, presenting us with significant opportunities for innovation, job creation, and as we see today, for industrial development.
The advent of Electrochem in Songo is God sent, and it's a blessing. In fact, so far, this is just about 2 years ago.
Electrochem's approach was in four folds: to develop the community and existing lands. Second, develop the existing operations. The third was to develop the engineering part. And then fourth, to go into full-scale production.
The place is completely transformed. The kind of technology they've introduced, they are washing salt. If you see their salt, the quality of salt they produce, very white.
They're employing the people from the local area. They have set aside some ponds or helping them to produce their own salt, which they are going to offtake, that is buy them off. So they have a ready buyer. They don't need to look for their buyer, which guarantees them stable income.
I think we should be having the largest salt mine in Africa very soon.
And people really need to come to terms with the transformations or the changes that are going on and accept that fact that now it's a commercial entity and it is in the hands of government. So it is government who even decide who must go in and who must not go in.
The Songo salt mine covers a total land size of 41,000 acres. If the current industrialization drive is sustained, the country stands to produce 10 million metric tons of salt, with an estimated gain of over $2 billion annually.
The best way forward would be for us to produce it on commercial basis that can match competitively with other African countries. Those producing crude oil need secure, reliable supply sources. They won't take salt or any input from a source that is not reliable.
Ghana should be able to produce that in a couple of months' time.
And therefore, we have to scale up to an extent that we will have confidence that if the contract is awarded to a Ghanaian company to supply them the salt for their operations, it will be available as and when or according to order, according to schedule.
A number of investors have ventured into pumping money into the Adda salt industrialization drive, though it's considered a high-risk venture plagued by civil strife and demonstrations fueled by vested interests. Big names like Chachu Chikata, P.V. Obin, Aliko Dangote, David Lante of Sidalco, Osei Kwame Despite, Sam Jonah and OFORI-ATTA all invested in the Adda salt project but did not succeed. Efforts by the Rollins, Kufuor, Professor Mills and John Mahama administrations at industrializing the Adda salt did not succeed. Companies like Vacuum Salt Products Limited, Star Chemicals Industries Limited, and Messrs. Apintin Mensah and Co., Goy Pusam Mining Industries Limited faced stiff opposition and failed to commercialize salt at Adda. As a result, they received varying compensations totaling about 174,186,000 Ghana cedis and an amount of $350,000 from government in 2015 by the John Mahama administration following cancellation of their salt winning licenses. Recently,
Bank of Africa. As strong as a group, as close as a partner.
Where Duraplas goes, water flows.
PS Industries has introduced a new roofing system known as ColorLink Plus.
Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Syntax tank, are you strong? Are you tough?
Cherry Tree Properties. We develop spaces as though we were going to occupy them.
It's been a week of protests unannounced. Protests or blocking YOCO offices and massing up to the security installations where Chairman Wontumi Bernard Ntwibwe-Siakon, chairman of the NPP in the Ashanti region, was suspected to have been kept. The NPP is against his arrest and detention, more particularly that he has not been granted bail or has been handed a hefty 50 million Ghana cedis bail condition. They say this is onerous. Of course it is. They say this is intended to keep him. It is intended to be used as punishment. But the law says that bail shall not be used as punishment. Is that the case here? Does it matter that many other people got far more than 50 million? Woyomi got 54 million. Namwan got $1 billion, Ghana cedis, is it, for his bail? And even Kwabena Edubuahin got how much? Atuasian and Co., they got in excess of 600 million Ghana cedis. But is there a difference? We'll interrogate these questions. The minority has been labeled by some as acting lawless, lacking the moral right to do the things they are doing. But is that right? Or they are fighting for a right? The Chief Justice was in the Supreme Court, the court that she is used to empaneling, deciding who sits on what case, and leading as a presiding judge. She was there, looking and staring in the faces of her own colleagues and peers as they delivered a unanimous verdict against her application to halt and suspend the impeachment processes. How bad can it get? We're right back to deal with the vexed matters. I'm Samson Ladianyanini. This is Newsfile. It is your most authoritative news analysis platform.
Bungo. Hey, again.
Hello, thank you for calling MTN.
Yeah, this is Jerry, Jolly J for short.
Hi Jerry, how may I help?
These days I'm not happy with you guys at all. What you guys do is not cool, crowd.
How do you mean, sir?
You've been giving Bongo gifts all the time.
Who is Bongo?
Oh, Bongo, my friend. He purchased in my room. You don't know Bongo.
Oh.
You've been giving free gifts, but I don't. That don't be gift is him.
That's MTN rewards, sir. You can also get freebies because on MTN, doing always gets rewarded. Doing more of the things you love. Talk, text, browse, and more, and you get to redeem free call time or data by simply dialing *550#.
Oh, sir.
Yes, and on Fridays, you can even get extra special rewards like food vouchers, shopping discounts, and much more.
Didn't tell me anything, no. He will move out. Doing gets rewarded, eh? Hey, but your voice is really nice, so. Would you like to know how I got the name Jolly J?
That won't be necessary, Mr. Jolly. Calling customer care service doesn't give you points.
I'm gonna call my mom. I'll call my grandmom. I'll call my ex. That girl can talk, Papa. Hello, Mama. So what's the topic for today?
MTN. Syntax tank. Your size in Nabi. Copim 35,000 liters. West Africa had here. Obiani o tanka see chain yen. Ya yes Syntax tank. I'm on a wire ding. And see about to say Chao. And so still a wedjuma. Oh weather. Who bet me a check color wope. Ye bayamo. I won't yash. Ghana ha. If you be a year water tank and a whole day. Auto Syntax tanker. Ye mo 7 years warranty. Syntax tank. Ye will lay a fitabi room. A Bowsian room by me with the hokroji. And ye papa change your canina. Say dear. What's the dia yen to my hobby? And one is Syntax septic tank. Septic tanky. Your size is BRB. Syntax. Innovative, reliable, durable. Syntax tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
A tank is not a tank until it's Syntax tank.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Introducing Betway's Bet Influencer, a groundbreaking feature where you can make money by just sharing codes. He just needs to share his codes and make money. The more his codes are used, the more money he makes. Oh yes, so what are you waiting for? Anyone can be a bet influencer. Share your codes and make money. Bet Influencer, another world first from Betway.
This advert has been approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Betway, get way more.
The EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair 2025. Dream it. Own it. Live it. Coming soon.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And let me quickly share with you my take. And I title my take, Prosecute Fake Dr. Sansa Dala. Is it Dali? Dr. Dominic Kwame Obeng Ando faced accusations of causing harm to patients and even murder before his Obengfo Hospital will be closed. He was arrested and put on trial for unregistered practice and operating an unlicensed health facility. He was in and out of court facing the Medical and Dental Council. He was named and shamed in a manner that it was and became not difficult at all for me to call his bluff and show that his suit against the multimedia group, Seth Kwame Boateng and Manasseh Azuri Awini, was a dead on arrival nuisance action. We call it SLAP. They take it just to shut everybody up. They know it's nuisance. They know they won't win, but they take the suit because they have money. Fake Dr. Jonathan Ohene in Kunim damaged unsuspecting patients. He dragged and raped many of the women who visited his Nature's Hand Therapeutic Center in Bawe before Manasseh Azuri-Awini and the Fourth Estate exposed him and got him arrested. The licensed predator who advertised himself as a doctor and a preacher, a man of God, was disowned by the Allied Health Professional Council. Now a fake doctor, Ansansa Dali, just had her appointment to the board of directors of the National Health Insurance Authority revoked. She had advertised herself as such and even got, a not diligent lawyer to issue what is now an embarrassing empty threat to those who exposed her. It may have been revoked even before she could be sworn in, but how credentials verification? That seems easy to do. Very easy to do. Just check with the Medical and Dental Council. She says she's graduated from Johns Hopkins, School of Medicine. Easy to check. How all this escaped all those involved in her appointment is curious. We have Niama Amatefio to thank for vigilance and the petition he took to the Medical and Dental Council, and Reginald Sechi Brown for also going further to confirm with the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine that Sansa Dali was never there. Now, this must not end here. The state must prosecute her to show that we are a serious country. A serious country that abhors this bad conduct. You're not a doctor. You say you're a doctor and you're killing people out of it. People are doing it. Why do we do that? People are carrying fake PhDs around. Why? She has committed various crimes, including violating the Health Professions Regulatory Bodies Act 2013 and the Criminal and Other Offences Act 1960, both of which prohibit making a false declaration for registration as a medical or dental practitioner, falsely using the title doctor or any designation suggesting professional licensure in medicine, practicing or receiving payments for medical services without being duly registered, falsely pretending and knowingly misrepresenting facts with intent to defraud, making a false document, and dealing with or knowingly presenting a forged document. The law prohibits all of this. So she's caught on just too many fronts of the law. We build a decent country on our good traditions and culture, the good Bible, the Quran, and the law, which teach us that we will suffer punishment and embarrassment if we do not tell the truth, we act corruptly, and if we do not act with integrity. And that is my take. The state must take this beyond revoking her appointment. We'll be right back with my guest on the Vex Matters.
She's coming. She's coming.
Oh, it's in.
She's coming.
I know. Go to the pharmacy now.
She's coming. She's here.
Pay faster, pay safer, and pay easy with Momo app. Download now and pay with the QR code, merchant ID, and so much more.
Syntex tank, your size in Nabi, copying 35,000 liters. West Africa had here, Obiani or tanker see a chain yen. Ya yes, Syntex tank, I'm on a wire ding. And see about this here, Chow, and so still, a wedjuma, oh, weather. Who bet me a check, color, pay. Ye bayamo, I won't shit. Ghana ha, if you be a year water tank and one thing, auto Syntex tanker. Ye mo 7 years warranty. Syntex tank, ye will lay a fitabi room. A bones your room by me with the hokwaji. And ye papa change your canina. Say dear, what's the dia yen to my hobby? And one is Syntex septic tank. Septic tanky, your size BRB. Syntex, innovative, reliable, durable. Syntex tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
A tank is not a tank until it's Syntex tank.
Let's talk hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids are normal structures located in the anus of all mammals.
But it is only man who suffers hemorrhoidal disease because of the erect procedure we have assumed and the squatting that we do to empty our bowel. Hemorrhoids consist of a special type of blood vessels which fill with blood when we are moving our bowel and help to cushion the anus against the force of transmitting the stool. Afterwards, they empty their blood, collapse, help seal the anus to maintain continence. Over time, these vessels lose the elasticity of their walls, become dilated, permanently filled with blood, leading to congestion of the hemorrhoids. The symptoms of hemorrhoids are bleeding and prolapse of the hemorrhoids when passing stool, itching and feeling of warmth in the anus and anal discharge. Laser, ligature, and longo are the modern, minimally invasive, most effective, and painless methods of treating hemorrhoids today.
Wontumi'S Hospital, first Ghana Colorectal Center, in to serve a peculiar health need.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Introducing Betway's Bet Influencer, a groundbreaking feature where you can make money by just sharing codes.
He just needs to share his codes and make money. The more his codes are used,
the more money he makes.
Oh yes. So, what are you waiting for?
Anyone can be a bet influencer. Share your codes and make money.
Bet Influencer, another world first from Betway.
This advert has been approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Betway, get way more.
Chairman Wontumi'S, lawyer Andy Apia Kube. Lawyer, we've heard from Baumia, we've heard from Alexander Fenyo-Makin. They said they went to NIB. The client is not there. Where is he?
See, there is a way of doing everything. If you use the way to do it, you will do it as expected. So you don't start throwing stones when you want to enter the house. This is, what is the time? This is 8 o'clock, but we've gotten public officers still stay here and wait for us. It depends on how you conduct the business. So we have been seen by the public officers We've done what is dutifully our job to do. We've done this. We encountered some difficulty, which will be sorted out on Monday. Then we'll have a fresh slate to operate. We will work towards the desired results. I beg you, all of you, I will stay out of the politics and the theater, and I'll do the work within the law. I thank you very much for your support.
Just one question. Do you know the whereabouts of your client?
Oh, yes. Why not?
Where is he?
We had brought him to meet with Vice President, but the situation we saw was difficult to arrange this meeting, to pass through the crowd to get Vice President, see him and talk to him. So we had to take him back, and I told you that his condition of health requires attention. So he is receiving attention. He is wholly good, he is wholly healthy, and there's nothing to worry about in respect of his health.
Secure the bail now?
We have been able to provide the sureties. That one I can assure you. And I'm very grateful to Honorable Brian Champon, who has supported me to file the documents. He has brought his documents to which goes over and above the value of money that is required. So I thank him very much.
So that means your client is going home tonight?
Oh, well, obviously no.
So when?
I told you that we encountered a challenge. The challenge that needs to be addressed before we can go forward. In fact, they had agreed to do the inspection tonight. So all the officers are there. But the challenge that I faced is legal. We can't do it because, but I'm grateful to them. They agreed to wait for us to bring the documents for them to go and inspect the properties. But we have a legal challenge. Unknown to me, there was an application to frustrate what we are doing. So we will deal with it on Monday. I say it is application that was not filed by my good self, but that prohibits us.
Is that what you're holding?
That is what I'm holding.
Specifically, what is it about?
I'm not showing you.
Sure. So hopefully by Monday your client will be free.
Hopefully by Monday, when this application is withdrawn, then we'll proceed to complete what we are doing.
I get that becomes a conditionality then, that if this application is withdrawn, yes, your client gets to go home.
Pending, that will impeach them from continuing with the negotiations. Otherwise, we need to wait and this application is taken and the results come before we can also come in. Because independency of this application, none of us can perform. But at least we have the agreement that we are ready to end. So but for this application, we would have ended today. Unfortunately.
And Apia Kubi has been lawyer for Chairman Wontumi Bernard Mchibuesiako, the NPP's chairman for the Ashanti region. And you heard him, this was just last night, after they massed up at the, NIB offices right here at Ridge. And if you were tuning to radio in the evening, in the afternoon, getting into the night when the people were massing up there, you can't believe some of the comments you were hearing. People were saying if by whatever time he's not released, that place will go up in flames. And the things that will happen in this country, nobody can handle. Well, it appeared all of that was just empty rhetoric and noise. Roxanne Nelson Eche Kwame Dafiamapo is MP Southern and Majority Chief Whip. He's got a difficult job there in the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. He is a man who is leading the campaign to break the monopoly, quote unquote, of the General Legal Council, the only regulatory body for lawyers. And also those who are saying that we will need to bring in rules to regulate the impeachment of Article 146 office holders, Article 146 liable holders. Hassan Tampli is MP Gushong and Deputy Ranking Member, Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament. Dr. James Kwabena Bonfe Jr. is CEO of the Census, and he's a lecturer at the UPSA. He was in court 2 weeks ago, also seeking to put an injunction on the impeachment process, and he lost. Osman Al-Hassan is private legal practitioner, and Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante is Director, Public Engagement and Partnerships at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, Ghana. Gentlemen, thank you very much for making time to join us.
Good morning.
Great.
For having me.
Right, so Hassan Tampuli, I should begin with you because you were those who have been mounting this crusade against the detention of Chairman Wontumi, and it's appearing that you have a divided house, and now he's in custody because of your own making, according to his lawyer.
Thank you very much, Samson. Good morning to you, and then good morning to your viewers and listeners. I think that Chairman Wontumi'S case is one of the classic examples of the saying that the more things change, the more they remain the same. This is not a situation that is entirely new to us, especially since 1992, when we recommenced the journey of our democratic experience. And in recent times, you recognize that some of these instances of high-handedness by the security services have continued to play out, especially so when we are supposed to be in a reset zone. So we thought that things would be done differently, different and with more finesse than the way that we used to do them. And so these are all the consequences of, actions and inactions of the former regime of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And so we were expecting to see something much more different, much more in tune with the tenets of the law. So when a citizen is invited and then he says that, oh, I'm not too well, so I would visit you on Monday. He shows up on Monday for interrogation. Then he is granted police inquiry bail by the CID to come back the next day. He dutifully returned the next day. And just as he was leaving the facility, he was picked up in a Rambo style. Some of these movies that we watch, you see how they pick people up. So sometimes you are not even too sure who is picking you up to start with. And that alone can give somebody a heart attack. Because you are picking me up from where? Why are you coming? Why are you taking me? Out of nowhere. It's not as if you invited me and then I turned down the invitation. And so you take the man since the 27th of May. Today is 31st. And we still don't have word yet as to when exactly he's going to be released and what exactly the charges are. That's continued to remain a mirage. So when Tamale, in Myang constituency for the funeral of the late Myong Lana, when arrangements were made for the former vice president to visit him whilst in custody. And so on arrival, we were given 4:30. Straight from the airport, we went to the facility where we were told by the authorities, this is the place to meet the man. And we have made every arrangement for you to come and meet him. And somehow the information leaked. So by the time that we got to the place, people had already masked up. And that is not any fault of ours. It's a security agency, and so you can protect your area and so on and so forth. Then when we got in, for almost 2 hours, the man was nowhere to be found. And the officers that the former vice president met were the ones who were now explaining that actually Chairman Wontumi was not the business of the NIB, and that he is just being given to them for protective custody because of their facility, their infirmary. And that at some point he wasn't feeling too well, so he was being held in their facility. And the arrangement was for them to bring him. And given the fact that many people had masked up, it was impossible or impractical for them to bring him in there. So beyond that, let's go to the law. What does the law say? Is his continual detention, restriction, and arrests contrary to the law? Yes, it is. It violates and contaminates Article 14.3 of the 1992 Constitution. It says, and I want to read with your indulgence, a person who is arrested, restricted, or detained, and the relevant section will be B, Article B, upon reasonable suspicion of his having committed or being about to commit a criminal offense under the laws of Ghana, and who is not released, shall be brought before a court within 48 hours after the arrest, restriction, or detention. Now, we are being told, for instance, that there was a court order and so on and so forth. If there was a court order,
a warrant for his arrest,
the court warrant, then the warrant would have been made upon terms and we would have gone straight to that same court. But there's no such warrant. The warrant came from Iyoko itself. And so, if Iyoko, which is a creature of law...
You're contradicting his lawyer.
Which one?
His own lawyer says he was arrested on a warrant and that the claims that something untoward was done are untrue. You're contradicting his lawyer.
But you see, the lawyer cannot even take superiority over Article 14.3. Whatever the lawyer says is subservient to what Article 14.3.
You're impugning the competence of his lawyer?
Well, Honorable Andy Appiah Kubi is one senior lawyer that I respect so much. But the law remains the law. You understand? And so I am restricting myself to what is in the Constitution. I'm not even looking at what he says. Because we all get it wrong. Even the Supreme Court judges get it wrong. Even the panel can get it wrong. Upon review, they can correct their mistakes. So yes, we may at some point in time get it wrong. But what the law says is what I'm reading out. And our understanding, all of us, believe that within 48 hours, you must produce the person before courts.
If the person is not granted bail, that's a law.
That's if the person is not what?
Granted bail.
Granted bail.
Yes, that's police inquiry bail.
Exactly.
But he was granted police inquiry bail, correct?
He was granted police inquiry bail.
Right.
And the bail terms were too onerous for him to meet. Now, the intendment of what we have in this law is for us to be able to override such, what's the name? Outrageous bail demands. All right? So that whatever it is, you should be able to come within these 48 hours. Iyoko should have brought him before a court of competent jurisdiction, regardless of whether he is able to meet the bail conditions or not.
But the police do this every day. Can we educate the people correctly? They do this every day. They grant bail to people before the 48 hours. And because of that, they don't take them to court.
Well, it says that if you want to continue to detain the person, or you want to hold the person beyond 48 hours, then you must do so with the blessing of a court. So if you release the person within 48 hours, there's no need for you to go to court. But what the law is saying, that if you want to continue restrict, arrests, or detain the person, then you must produce the person after 48 hours, you must produce it.
So his lawyer is doing the wrong thing. His lawyer is rather accusing the lawyer of the MPP's Constitution Committee, Gary Nimakumafo, who has issued an application to the court, which should be heard on coming Tuesday, to vary the bail conditions. He is faulting that lawyer's work. He says that yesterday in the night, Friday, this public office, they would have closed by 2 p.m. But they stayed up till 8 and they were still ready to inspect the, as it were, the documentation of Brian Achampong.
That's right.
But the only hurdle they had encountered was that an application had been filed to vary the bail. And that he says has frustrated his ability to get his client out of Iyoko detention.
Something. The Iyoko cannot rely on this application and say that the bail process has been frustrated. They can still go ahead because the 48 hours has elapsed.
Alleging.
You understand? Yoko should be able to release him, even without any court intervention. Because that's what the law says. You don't have to even wait. So, with all respect to Honorable Andy Appiah-Kubi, I'm not too sure, which area he's coming from. But we are political beings, so some of these things you can throw in some political jabs here and there. But what I am reading out to you right now, and what I believe all of us have, is the law, and we must restrict this discussion, I believe, to the law and not whatever any other lawyer, regardless.
First, you said that they had invited him.
That's correct.
That invitation was an invitation by the CID.
That's correct.
The CID is doing an investigation separate and different from what the Yoko is doing, correct?
That is supposed to be the case.
Thank you. What the CID is doing, he attended to the CID together with Godfrey Dame-Yeboah and came out to tell us what he was being investigated for. That's right. For mining, is it without license, entering into a forest, reserve, and so on and so forth. Which he says he categorically showed them that he's not guilty.
That's correct.
Now, Yoko has a warrant, and they arrest him on that warrant. You say the Constitution was breached. Can you explain that?
Well, Samson, is there any ambiguity in this provision? Does it matter who is even detaining, whether it's Yoko, SP, CID, NIB, National Security? It says that if you use the power of the state to arrest somebody.
No, you said the arrest itself was in Rambo style and was against the terms of the Constitution. That's what I'm referring to.
No. I'm just describing the way and manner that he was picked up. I'm not talking about the arrest. I'm talking about the continued detention beyond the constitutional limit of 48 hours.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me go around and come back. Roxanne.
Yes.
Yes, your government is being accused, and we have heard the NPP say in very clear terms that this is clear political persecution of Wontumi, and it will take only John Mahama. Some even say John Mahama and Ibrahim Mahama to get him out.
Mahama family.
Your colleague, MP and minority leader, made a statement on the floor of the House calling for his release. Why are you doing all this?
Thank you very much. Good morning once more to my co-panelists and, of course, to my people in Southern. It's an unfortunate observation. Let me give you some background to Wontumi'S present predicament. As far back as 2022, CSOs in this country called for his prosecution, criminal prosecution. He and perhaps others, I'm not certain, are the controlling minds behind Akunta mining. And Akunta mining had been established beyond doubt to have engaged in illegal mining. So CSOs, not NDC, not NPP, private citizens in this country called for his prosecution. That call was ignored by the Attorney General.
3 private citizens, Ken Ashigbe, Kwame Sapong-Asiedu, and Martin Kpebu, filed a petition to the CID. Let me get there.
Okay. The initial call was in sometime in 2022. It got to the crescendo in October 2022. It was ignored. In January 2023, they renewed the call. So what did they do? They filed a petition. Now they followed it up with a formal request that this entity called Akunta Mining and its controlling mines should be criminally prosecuted. Now, before that petition could be acted upon, the president is on record to have gone to a function and defended that Akunta Mining was not engaged in any illegal mining. So, perfunctorily, that petition to ask for the prosecution of Wontumi and other persons engaged in illegal mining, as far as Akunta Mining Company was concerned, died. But you see, crime does not rot. So if the state failed to act yesterday, The state is obligated under law to act today. Because the persons who exercise the executive powers of state changes. Now, came this January. But in Pebu, one of the petitioners in January 2023 didn't fold down his arms. He renewed the call. So that would have been the third renewal of that call. And said that contact mining and its controlling mines ought to be prosecuted. So Wontumi'S arrest has been long in coming. Now, what has been thrown into the mix is the fact that he appears to have engaged in multiple offenses. So apart from the issue of illegal mining, which is hanging over him like a sword of Damocles, he's also been accused of having been engaged in some money laundering and some other offenses.
Fraud, causing financial loss to the state, and money laundering.
Great.
The criminal investigation is running concurrently with asset recovery processes to prevent further dissipation of what law enforcement agencies strongly suspect to be proceeds of crime. The suspect is also under a second strand of investigation, which is part of a larger international organized crime. The IOCO is assiduously working with our international law enforcement partners on this second strand of criminal investigations. And this was the statement by Justice Shremsai, the Deputy Attorney General.
He threw some light on the matter. I'm even informed that the FIC is also preparing its own docket.
Financial Intelligence.
Thank you.
Center.
So this is not the first time that an accused person at this stage, a suspect, is investigated in respect of suspected offenses that is committed contemporaneously. Indeed, by practice, if a suspect is taken through initial police inquiry, a prima facie is established and prosecution commences. Prosecution always has the power, and there are statutes, to go back to court and vary or amend the charge sheet if further evidence emerged that further crimes have been committed which deserves or warrants prosecution by the same accused person standing trial. So these are the legal basis and underpinning why Wontumi'S will leave one police inquiry spot and be invited to another police prosecution inquiry spot.
Not invited, arrested.
Fine. So it came with a warrant. So, and be arrested. Now, Hassan Tampuli says what? That the manner of the arrest.
No, address the constitutional.
Yes, so I'm saying that you are saying that the manner of the arrest is illegal and that the continuous detention is unconstitutional. Great. Who determines the constitutionality of an arrest? It's a court of law. You cited certain instances. You made the point that a court process, even though pending outcome of a court, a validly filed court process, the prosecutors or the investigating body ought to have released the suspect for him to have his interim freedom. Now, you know by practice, and as a practitioner, you know that the court could have suo motu, determining the application, directed that the bail as initially granted by the prosecuting body be reversed based on the evidence that would have gone before the court. So, IOCO acted properly by saying we had the intention of exercising our rights under 96 subsections 3, 4 to grant bail because perhaps we have assessed that he may not be a fugitive of justice, is not capable of interfering with further inquiries into the matter, is committed to stand trial and defend himself, the matter. But the pendency of a judicially filed application has tied up our hands because that matter will be contested on its merits. Because you are praying technically that the bail terms as granted by IOCO to have his interim freedom should be varied or should be lowered, as it were. But if Yoko contests it and deposes to certain facts, the court may come to a certain other determination.
They're going to hold you forever.
No,
yes, certainly.
No,
so processing for court.
So your submission. So your submission
processing for court.
No, so your submission that his continuous detention in police cells or whichever cells is being held is unconstitutional, is absolutely unfounded. Absolutely. And let me tell you, I've been involved in Oyome because Oyome came up. And I was Oyome's lawyer 40 years ago in this studio. Young lawyer, and I was the face of the trial. The difficulties we had. Everybody at the time said it was regular. So we can make the general submission that
this was 54 million.
Yes. So the enormity of the bail terms depends on what is being assessed as being the subject of the offense being looked into. So people have had half a billion in this country as bail terms. Somebody even suggested yesterday that Namwa had like a billion.
Yeah, not suggested. He had a billion.
Good. But
the point to note, however, is that the Woyomis, the Atuesians who got like 670 million and so bail, those who got 200 million and so on, even Edubuahin, is it 120 or so?
And then the courts.
So all of them, apparently, you will see that their bails were set by the courts, almost all of them.
Yes.
Their bails were set by the court.
Yes.
Even in amounts that was far more than what
and that is
this guy is
on
facing.
the facts of the case.
But in most of these cases, they also went back to the court and sought variation, and the bail conditions were, stepped down.
How does mining in a forest reserve, become an offense that cannot be billed? For which reason you need 50 million Ghana cedis for bill to be granted?
Because you had your time. Hassan, I will be scandalized if you make that point. Because you see, in granting bail, as we all know, is granted in phases. At this stage, we speak of prosecution inquiry bail or police inquiry bail, as is on the books, because now we have other prosecuting agencies. So prosecuting inquiry bail, they have similar powers. That is why when you are dissatisfied, then you bring in the judicial angles that let the court determine. Even when the court grants it and you are still dissatisfied, you can go back for a variation. That's lowering of the conditions. But the fundamental basis upon which it is granted is the same. Would you be a fugitive of justice if the police grants you interim bail? If you are, they will not. If you are capable of committing further crimes, they will not allow you to go, even though they are still looking into the matter. Are you capable of interfering with further police inquiry into the matter? If you demonstrate that, they will not grant you a police inquiry. So, police inquiry bail.
Or any bail at all.
Or any bail at all.
But the substantive question.
The substantive question.
Chairman Wontumi'S is known. He's all over the place. It's available. Where is he running to? Why do you set the bail at 50 million? Why don't you put it as a figure that shows that you are more willing to grant him bail?
That discretion lies with the prosecuting body. I am not.
So it's the discretion that is being questioned now.
Yeah, but the discretion...
Because the discretion must be exercised fairly.
Yes.
Not capriciously.
I think that is being exercised fairly. Do you know the amounts involved? As far back as 2023, Public Accounts Committee, which I served on proudly, interrogated findings by the Auditor General against Chairman Wontumi for a cocoa road contract that he got, 50 million. He was paid as much as 45 million. He never touched the road. So we called for his prosecution. It was never done. It was never done. That has not even come up yet. Because I know that matter. It was part of the people Chairman Veji wrote to the Attorney General at the time. A long list of
took people. In excess of 40 million.
Yes.
And didn't do
I am not the one speaking.
Work.
I am not the one speaking. He's the Auditor General.
Oh, really?
Yes. They went to verify the road and what has been done technically the grading that was done was not worth more than $1 million.
Okay, so there was some grading done.
Yes, but they assessed that it's as if nothing was done. The money was taken and nothing.
Are these part of the charges?
No, I am telling you that.
No, but what you are saying, suggests to me
I am
that
telling you that the bill, because you are questioning the enormity of the bill sum, that property must be brought, assessed to meet same, and you are saying it's unfair. It's an abuse of discretion.
There are other angles we can feed. So if you can catch a breather here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. So, can I call you Kabila?
You are at liberty to.
Popularly.
Dr. Bonfe, yes. Observing things from perhaps a non-legal lens. People like Nyaho Tamaklo and others have been very blunt in criticizing the minority as acting reckless and not showing good leadership. That, your party chairman is arrested and all you know how to do is mobilize your people to Iyoko, trying to spend the night there, and the next day you are there, you are blocking the road, sitting, on the street, getting into parliament and asking parliament to vary a bail condition when you know parliament has no business with varying a bail condition. What you should have done is what has now been done. Unfortunately, it is done at a time that is allegedly said to frustrate the release. We'll deal with that, whether that's actually sincere.
Well, Samson, let me begin by correcting an impression. It is census that is in court, the Center for Citizenship, Constitutional and Electoral.
Which you are the CEO.
Yes, and so I'm an interested party.
Okay.
I'm not the one.
Okay.
And the pendency of the case was what necessitated the filing of an interlocutory injunction to halt the committee whilst the case was being tried. But the Supreme Court, in their wisdom, in a majority decision of 4-1, said that the case can run whilst the committee is doing its work. The
application was meritless. We'll get to that one
yes.
in the second subject.
So the subject of going to court is still pending. It hasn't been dismissed.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's what I need to clear. You see, sitting where I am sitting and watching, I think that what is happening in the country calls for sober reflection and a relook at the fact whether or not we are building a country or we are going at each other.
Because Chairman Wontumi'S is arrested.
No, I said the issue.
We must re-examine our democracy, whether it's working or not.
It's beyond Wontumi. Okay. The issues I want to look at go beyond Wontumi.
Okay.
Bernard Ntwibo-Siakon is the chairman of the party.
Regional.
The regional chairman of the New Patriotic Party. He has following. And he is somebody who is known to be in business. So he's not an ordinary person who will have no following. But I'm looking at beyond the issues that have been mentioned. At the core of them is citizenship and citizens' rights. And it brings to the fore the issue of what is a bailable and non-bailable offense. How the bail terms can be met.
We don't have non-bailable offenses anymore.
Exactly. Through the decision of the Supreme Court.
Thanks to Pegu.
Thank you. Pegu went to court and we are now clear that there is no offense in this country that is non-bailable.
Yet bail is at the discretion of the court.
Sure.
It doesn't mean it is automatic.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But there are prosecutor agencies of security agencies that exercise right over bail, not only the courts. The court come in when an individual appears before them or when an individual is not subjecting him or herself for the activities of the court. And when these terms have been set, what are the limits? And when they are met, what do we do? Another issue that comes up is the functions of security agencies. one and at the same time, whether they can exist in multiples. Can 3, 4 security agencies at the same time be investigating one person and be going about it in the manner that we have seen some go? And at the heart of this for me is even the question of Yoko and an agency like OSP, which is a different subject matter we can interrogate, the constitutionality or otherwise of them. No one has gone to the Supreme Court, but I am of the view that if our security agencies are to work and work well, there's a need to streamline and be focused on what they do. There is also the notion that politicians don't sin, and that is something that we all need to discuss. This issue has come up this way because it is wound to me. How many Ghanaians are innocently suffering in the hands of security agencies without going through the right processes? Only last year, Daily Graphic published, is it 25 or 26 persons who had been incarcerated or held in remand for nearly 27 years.
Forgotten.
They had been forgotten. It took Justice for All program and some media persons to go in there. Something I'm sure you know about what I'm talking about. So this particular matter.
I wish you don't invite me on this.
I'm not inviting you, but I'm saying you.
All I'm trying to tell you is that I see
don't
these
be
things.
tempted.
I see these things every day.
Yeah.
So when I hear the politicians jumping, so I just keep quiet and watch.
So it brings to the fore these major issues that we all need to confront with. Look, citizens, what do we care about? The essential issues about development. Are they the things that we have occupied ourselves with within this week? I beg to say no. I beg to say no. And we can talk and engage on the legalese. Whether it was done in the past, that was unfit, it was wrong. It's been done today, it will be done tomorrow. Where are we going and when are we going to end these things? As a people, I think that it is high time we reflect on what ought to be done. Something, there's so much mistrust. And it appeared to manifest here. You are asking Hassan whether he's questioning what Andy Akubi is doing or not. The issue is that who among us in the public space, those in partisan and those of us outside partisan, those of us in civil society, those in the media, who is trusted when we speak? There's so much doubt, cynicism, despondency. Can we build a nation with these attributes? I beg no. So for me, we need to be, balancing issues against the future. And I don't think we are doing that. For how long can Wontumi'S be kept?
Exactly.
How long?
Keep him.
And the question fundamentally is this. Most cases, when these security agencies go about their noisy arrests, they end up dying noisily. No prosecution.
You never know. You just ask for how long.
I said in most cases.
Maybe.
Something we've seen this in the past.
Yeah, we have also seen people ask for how long, and the answer they get is for as long as Afoko. 10 years.
Gregory.
8 years in bail, even in jail, even though he was on bail.
Right. and we all bemoan that. Those of us who bemoan that cannot be seen rationalizing or justifying an apparent or seeming recurrence. We cannot.
Where is the recurrence?
No, but you have just cited Gregory.
Yeah. So what would be the recurrence?
I'm saying,
what will even be the basis of any comparison?
Where we use state security or state power to detain somebody beyond the right of being heard properly.
Is that what is going on from where you sit?
Has a man been brought before a court? You see, we have sounding as if Wontumi'S is already guilty. Because somebody has made an allegation. My brother has just made instances that, look, it's been long in coming. The man was reported. People petitioned.
He never pronounced him guilty.
Good. But the impression is that he ought to be dealt with the way he's being dealt with.
Never.
I said, that's the impression I got. if that is not the impression you are putting across, then it must be conveyed properly. And that's why I'm saying that it goes beyond Wontumi, the person.
But inherent in the suggestion you are making is that bail is automatic.
I have not.
And again, at least it is that he has been denied bail, but he has not. That's the point, isn't it?
Samson, I began by saying that it brings to the fore the issue of how even the state security agencies function and work, the manner in which they arrest. For me, this is needless and avoidable. CID invited Wontumi. They are investigating him for wrongdoing or crimes purported to have been committed, right? He went with his lawyers. Could Yoko not have done that? And we are now told by the AG, Deputy AG, in justification for Wontumi being kept or a citizen being kept, that, look, there are high crimes that he is being investigated for. How long has Yoko been waiting? And it brings to the question, even who heads our security agencies, their backgrounds. Are they politically exposed persons? And in this book, is it an issue about getting equal? I mean, you know, all over. The handwritings are clear. It's about, vengeance. It's about
vendetta.
Bitterness, vendetta. The handwriting is clear. It may not be said, or it may not be so.
Let's be direct on the issues.
Yes.
So are you saying because he was not invited by Yoko?
Yes.
Some wrong has been done. That's the question.
I'm saying that it could have been done better than this, and we will not be sitting here discussing this
because we are going ahead.
If it had been done properly.
Because you have gone ahead, okay, you use the word. If it had been done properly. Yes. So you are saying that at all costs, willy-nilly, CID invited him. So if Yoko also needs him, they should invite him and not arrest him.
You see?
And by arresting him instead of inviting him, they have done something wrong.
I have read cases where the issue of arrest itself is not done anyhow. Arresting persons and bringing them before the law is not to be abused because it can be abused. And I mean, senior persons in the security outfit, like KB Kwanson, in this book, documents how persons in security agencies abused even the rightful application of law.
In this circumstance.
And I'm saying that right now we are told that the man is still in the custody of Yoko. Has he been arraigned before a court? No. Is it more than 48 hours? I believe so. Is it infringing on his rights? Yes, I think so. What remedies are there? He can seek them at the law courts. Could we have avoided that? Yes. But if he wins against the state, is the state going to suffer by paying?
So your understanding is that your understanding is that, like Hassan posited.
Yeah.
There are those who argue that you can't talk 48 hours here because it doesn't apply. The 48 hours applies when you have not been granted bail. But before 48 hours, he is granted bail. His lawyer says, we have been in the process to meet the bail conditions. We are, in fact, happy with how things are going. He says the officers are supposed to close from work. They have stayed with them. He said this previously and repeated it last night. So where you are seeing wrong and his lawyer is not seeing wrong, don't you see there's a bit of a problem there?
Something with respect, just let me chip in this. We are not saying that he should be granted bail within 48 hours. What the law says, that after 48 hours, you must produce the person before courts. That's what we are saying.
That is what we are detaining.
That's what the law says. It's been held.
I mean, the law doesn't say after 48 hours,
bail has not been mentioned.
The law says
shall be brought before a court within 48 hours after the arrest, restriction, or detention. Let's not give a meaning.
Read it in full.
That would
read it in full.
A person who is arrested, restricted, or detained upon reasonable suspicion of his having committed or being about to commit a criminal offense under the laws of Ghana, and who is not released,
yes,
and who is not released,
yes,
shall be brought before a court within 48 hours.
Is bail release?
Within 48 hours after the arrest restriction.
Question, is bail release? You're a lawyer. Is bail release?
But you see, the person is still in your custody.
Answer my question. Is bail release? As a lawyer, the term bail does it imply release?
You see, bail does not imply release.
Really?
Because you see something. The reason why we have this provision in the Constitution is because there could come a time where the person doing the restriction, withholding, and detention can set bail requirements so outrageous that you can't meet it.
So you go to court and vary it, just like you are in court to do now.
Exactly. So, but what I'm saying is that currently, as we speak, there is a violation and clear contamination of the.
Okay, it was Bonfes.
The Constitution has been contaminated.
It was Bonfes' time that you took. Yes.
Thompson,
yes.
I view what is happening as avoidable and needless. And if our security agencies are indeed sincere about fighting crime and getting to the roots of situations to rid our system of wrongdoing, there's a better way of going about it. Bottom line, whatever charges they prefer against him, it will take a court to convict him or otherwise, right? Now, if it is going to be the case that even ahead of trial, we are creating the impression that one is guilty and convicted of an offense that is yet to be tried, I find that unfair. And I'm saying that,
who is creating that impression?
Have we not said that the man's arrest was long overdue on this set?
But is that to create an impression?
No,
have I suggested that he's guilty?
Hold on. It was suggested in Parliament's Public Accounts Committee for him to be prosecuted for certain amounts, and that it wasn't done by the previous administration, and I mean supposedly is being done or is going to be done by this administration. Look, what I'm talking about.
How does that amount to saying that he's guilty?
What I'm saying.
An academic. Don't say something.
Hold on.
Is he the only person who was cited by the public?
I'm saying we shouldn't create.
That's why I said there was a long list of referrals.
Have they arrested any of them?
Ask the security agencies, ask the prosecutors. We have,
but this one is the regional chairman.
Don't take Dr. Bonfes' time. Yes.
When I say we don't create an impression, I'm mindful of my language. Creating an impression doesn't mean you are actually saying so. And these are perceptions. We are interpretive beings. We listen and we make our own informed judgments of what you are saying. When you say you use somebody's past life or past character to judge or justify a current situation, what are you doing? It's creating an impression, and I'm saying that we must avoid that. Look, I sat here and I made the point that some have made it look as though once you're a politician, you don't sin. It's come in this matter. I said so. And Wontumi'S cannot come under that because he's a politician, he shouldn't be investigated by the police. I said so here.
What's wrong with saying that? What's wrong with repeating the fact that in 2022, or when was it, the state itself found that his company was doing a criminal act? The state found so.
So let me tell you what's wrong with that. Let me tell you.
And then it was expected that he would be arrested. Let me tell you what's wrong with saying that.
What is wrong with saying that is that you obfuscate the present situation at hand. You create an impression that, look, this person is not to be tried only on the charge that is preferred against him now because of previous ABCD. Bring back his past to kind of rationalize.
The past you are talking about,
and I'm saying that
it's part of the investigations by the CID.
So let them go through the process. And the CID is doing that. They invited him, he went, he responded to them, they gave him self-cognizance bail or whatever it was, and he left. Is that correct?
That's right.
And he's going to be tried on that, isn't it?
That's right.
Has he been convicted of that?
No.
Good. So I'm saying you have read something from the Facebook wall of Justice I. Is that what Yoko actually is investigating him for? Or the deputy AG is bringing this out to say that these are other issues hanging on the man's neck?
we take the Deputy Attorney General's word because
no, I'm not saying don't take his word. I'm saying that
they are the legal advisors
Samson,
the point I'm making, so they will know.
Is that what Yoko is investigating for?
Yoko is under the Ministry of Justice.
Until the contrary is proved, what the Deputy Attorney General has said is what we take.
Is that, did he say that? That is what Yoko is investigating?
Yes, that's what he said.
Good. And I'm saying, if that is the case, we have all appreciated here that there is no offense that is non-bailable. Correct? Can he be put before the court whilst he's enjoying his liberty? Yes, he's entitled to it as a citizen. And I'm telling you that I am more worried about this because this is happening to somebody who has a following, who comes from a certain background, who has a certain financial strength. How much or how less the ordinary person who hasn't got that status? That's my concern, that a citizen's right at law cannot be varied because of what status they have. And I'm worried about how the security agencies are operating in this matter. And I'm bringing back the question that can our security agencies, 4 or 5 of them, problematic as they are, even in their creation, go about
let me
chasing a person at the same time, whether for the same offense or varied offenses?
Okay, thank you. Dr. Kojo Kumfuni-Asante, let's hear you on this. Now, I don't like it when it sounds like we are sort of pigeonholing you to discuss the matters they have already discussed.
Don't worry, I have my own.
Yes, but when, for the purposes of the public, do you, from the facts that you know so far, the facts we know are that CID is investigating him. Iyoko too is investigating him. Is there anything wrong with that? CID decides to invite him. Iyoko decides to arrest him with a warrant, which his lawyer confirms. I've said this how many times now. And he goes to police, he gets granted bail, he goes back the next day as they continue the investigation. He's leaving, they pick him up. Is there something wrong with that? Earlier, they had gone to his residence to pick him up, and he has a fortress of a sort, so obviously they couldn't penetrate the fortress. He's kept in. Before 48 hours, he's granted bail. You find something wrong, but after 48 hours, he's still there.
Sure. Oh, thank you very much. And before I because I think we really need to go through the process, because I think for the public, when a lot of these things are politicized, it's very, very difficult to separate facts from fiction and propaganda and all of those kinds of things. But it's very important that, because of what is at stake, at the end, even the politicians will say, everybody knows when you are in public office, if you have to be held accountable, you need to present yourself to be held accountable. But this is not new.
He may be a politically exposed person.
Exactly.
In public office.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, politically, either through a transaction or whatever. But this post-regime accountability process is not new. You can go back to the 2000s with Quality Grain, Victor Salome and the rest. 2009 to the Ghana 50 prosecutions. Almost every 8 years, we go through this process. And actually, in a weird way, it is probably the only successful way in which we have held politically exposed persons accountable in this Fourth Republic, right? If we're talking about, even just recently, Sednam Tamaklo, whatever, you can go the list, Atufo Singh, all of those people. Now, the issue with what's it called, Wontumi'S case is, so there's a Rambo-style arrest issue and then the bail conditions. So the Rambo-style issue, I think a lot of people have condemned from the the governor of the Bank of Ghana, OFORI-ATTA, even recently the Kumi gentleman and so on. So I think most people have made the point that for some of these things, there's no need to go in with the kind of force. But when they were trying to arrest, or at least, yes, arrest Wontumi, when apparently they invited him and he had not responded in Kumasi, I am sure any law enforcement agency would have said, if you are going to go and effect an arrest of Wontumi in Kumasi, you definitely cannot go with just a few armed officers because of what Wontumi represents in Kumasi as chairman. I mean, I've seen him, follow. He has all kinds of following, and we've even seen what has happened subsequently. So anybody that is making a security assessment would have gone. But even in the Kumasi one, some people were saying 20 years, but it was obviously less than that. So even in that particular circumstance, I would say if they went in with armed police and so on, I wouldn't be surprised because a crowd might even gather there and all of that. The contention around the CID, I don't think the issue around the CID invitation, coming to CID, the charges that have been preferred, I don't think anybody is disputing. I have not heard any complaints about that.
That's right.
So I think we need to put that on the side, right? The Akonta mining matter, and I agree that this has been on the table for long. We've been debating it and discussing it. So the charges and all of that, it's not new. The issue is the Iyoko arrest, and remember, Iyoko has not preferred any charges. Iyoko has only is investigating. And we got in from the AG that they are investigating organized crime, fraud, and money laundering, and all of that. The arrest, again, the concern is that it was made in Rambo style. I think by the time Wontumi left CID, and I don't know those who were there who could probably, but at least he still had following, right? So if you were Yoko and you needed to arrest him, how were you going to do it? Were you going to let him go back to and then invite him? I mean, these are law enforcement tactics that are used all the time. So I don't have a problem with whether the person is invited or is arrested. In both cases, there are legal procedures to follow. If you arrest, you give the person, they have access to their lawyer, all of those things. And it doesn't appear that was a problem with the Iyoko matter. It only became a problem when the bail condition issue was raised. And as we have discussed it all here, there are so many things that go into determining what is bail, the bail value and all of that. And it looks like the kinds of things
But it must be said that even before the bail was set, they stormed the Iyoko premises.
Yes, I know. Because
they almost spent a whole night there.
Yeah. And that was bound to happen. We've seen it in previous time. As I said, this is a typical, after every 8 years, because particularly when people that are officers of the party are arrested, you get a different kind of mobilization that goes on. Often, like appointees and so on don't normally get that. But officers of the party, you will get that. So people like, they have arrested Wontumi'S chairman, regional chairman of the party in Ashanti, and people are mobilizing there. But at that point, there wasn't really, for me, an issue. The bill that was set, which we have gone over, we know that others, they are even, so it's not unreasonable for a 50 million bill to be set, and depending on what is being investigated. But the question was, why didn't the lawyers of Wontumi'S go to court to vary it? Because that is what the legal procedure is, right? That if the public officer exercises their discretion around bail, that if you want to address it, because often they might negotiate and say, oh no, maybe it's too high and you get. But it looks like they were unwilling to reduce it. So from Tuesday, I think, when he was arrested, I mean, they could have gone to court that way. But from what has happened with Andy Appiah-Kubi and what Gary Nimaku went to do, it seems like there's a conflict on who exactly is representing Wontumi. And that is what has complicated the matter. So maybe I'm just speculating here, but from Andy Appiah-Kubi, he was trying to meet the bail conditions. That was the strategy, that they felt confident that they could meet the bail conditions. And he thought that, as at yesterday night, that could have been addressed. Then there's other legal representation, more from the party, who thought that it is outrageous and they want to challenge it. But they waited. So somehow, this conflict internally within the group seemed to have prolonged the process.
A day before this application was filed.
Yes.
That was on Thursday. And the Appiah-Kubi was speaking to the media, and he was consistent in what he said last night, that they were working on the bail. People were saying it was onerous, it was whatever. You didn't hear him appear to agree.
So,
all his focus was that I want to get my client out. And he was saying they were succeeding, they were getting closer to it.
So, so how do you blame Yoko in this?
Exactly.
In this particular instance? Because
why not blame Yoko? Because people have gone there with similar sort of under similar sort of investigations. Well, some of us have been there privately, yes, doing our business with people the money's in front of them is far, far more.
Way more.
And some of them may walk on self-recognizance. Do you feel that they felt a little insulted that they went to arrest him, they couldn't get him? After they arrested him, the party people stormed the place and were issuing all sorts of threats. Yeah. Do you feel all of these must have informed?
No, so what I'm saying is that why blame Yoko is that even if Yoko is unreasonable, that's the whole reason why you go to court to ask for the bail condition to be reviewed. And there are so many lawyers that went there that know what needs to be done. So the choice of strategy that somehow an external person is going to order Yoko to reduce, whether from parliament or from, as they say, the president, how does that address the problem, both for Mr. Wontumi himself, but even the adherence to the rule of law? I don't see what the objective is, right? So at that point, I am confused as to what exactly was, and I don't want to say that, because the party issue is a separate one. There are political capital issues, there are mobilization issues that we have to consider. But it looks like his lawyer was going to try and meet the surety. But somehow they weren't in communication.
So let's deal with this right now. Do you sincerely think? Hold on. Do you sincerely think? No, we are not leaving this subject yet. Of course, we have another guest on, one more person on the Zoom. Do you sincerely think that Yoko can't, continue with the process, or could not have continued to finish the process last night because of the application that you are seeing on your screens now, filed by Gary Nimaku for variation of the conditions? Do you think that, like Hassan Tampuli suggested earlier, could Yoko not have gone ahead and say, yes, we have been served with this, but we can go ahead and do whatever we want to do?
I think they could have. I think they could have and gone and said, well, because what was served on them is not an injunction, right? That, stop, you cannot move on this process.
Exactly.
It could have said, well, we would complete, when we go to court, we would just say this, and if the court feels that it still be reviewed, it can still be reviewed. It's basically a documentation process, right? So I'm not sure, and I'm sure when we come back to some of the Chief Justice ones, this whole issue about when you file a court process, people injunct themselves.
You know,
this very point you made, Doc. This very point you made. Do you now appreciate part of what Hassan Tampuli was saying, which I asked him a question that was he suggesting or impugning the competence of the lawyer? If you heard the lawyer live on television say that by virtue of the filing of the application to vary the bail terms, it is frustrated
that's how
its ability to continue.
Yes.
From where you sit, also as a lawyer and as a governance person.
No, but I don't.
Do you think that if Hassan Tampuli was impugning the competence of the lawyer, he was wrong?
Oh, I mean, that's for impugning the competence. That's for. But I don't think. I think there's an interpretation. I mean, particularly among practitioners, it's something I don't believe in. That as soon as you file a process, it means that, and if the process, even a process for injunction, it means that you injunct yourself first before the court actually determines whether or not there should be.
Those have to do with injunctions. This is not an injunction.
But what I'm saying.
So that can you be straightforward with me here?
People treat any kind of court process as an order to stop whatever you are doing, and I think that in this case, both the lawyer and Iyoko also agreed that they couldn't do anything until they deal with this process. But as you're saying, I believe that they could have gone ahead.
If Iyoko had told the lawyer that, should the lawyer be agreeing with them and repeating that to the public?
But how can
Shouldn't the lawyer rather be telling the public that Iyoko is doing this wrong by using this application to continue to detain my client? When this application is not an injunction, they can actually go ahead, process it, grant him bail, and then the application will still be heard. Whether it is varied or it is not varied, it doesn't change anything.
Yes, obviously, we are not instructed by Mr. Chubu to act on his behalf. It's Mr. Pierre Kubi who is the person. And he's making these decisions based on his years of experience as a lawyer. So he's taking that action. We are here saying, if we were in his position, we would have done differently.
Okay.
But it doesn't necessarily make it right or wrong.
Okay. So, Hassan, I understand you. Just hold on. I'll return to you. But we have your friend Osman Ala Hassan on the line. Osman, can you start on this particular note with me? We'll return to the politics issue that's been raised, including that the NPP presidential hopefuls appear to be using Wontumi'S, bail situation to try and get some leverage. Earlier, you heard that one of the candidates was arranging to do it, and then later you heard that Dr. Bawumia was going to succeed to get him out. So he actually walked in there, to try and see if he will use his clout to get him out. Of course, by this morning, within the party, the celebration would have been that's the results man. He got us a result. And then, before we know it, we are now being told that another hopeful who says he's considering, he set up a committee to advise him whether he should contest or not. He is the one that the lawyer is saying that should be praised. But the substantive question of law, does the pendency of the application to vary the bail conditions stop or frustrate the continual processing of the bail application?
Samson, and thank you for having me. First of all, I think that the whole process is being colored with partisan politics. You see, and even the scenario you have cited, the competition among MPP presidential hopefuls to demonstrate a kind of kindness and to make themselves visible is another way of politicizing a criminal procedure. You see, and for me, I always think that it is important we divorce those partisan political energy and emotions from the legal issues. They are normal. It is normal for someone to exercise or express some kind of emotions to things you have common interest over, and which are being heard, whether legally or illegally. But I think we should not allow those partisan political energy to obfuscate the situation. First of all, let me make these comments. The security apparatus as we have it, I don't think anything has changed. The status quo is what it still is, because the change of government is just less than 6 months. And so the security and their modus operandi is what we still have. And for me to have people of a certain caliber to now complain about the high-handedness or despotic tendencies of the security service. Now, when we had witnessed a lot more of these things, is worrying.
Okay, so Osman, my direct question, if you can answer that first. We want to educate the public. From where you sit, do you agree with Dr. Kojo Pumpuni-Asante that the pendency of the application to vary the bail application does not stop the EOCO from continuing to process the bail application, and he could have been granted bail last night since they've gotten the security for it?
Well, I was coming to that, but these were general comments. The pendency of the application is intended to vary the bail condition. Now, if you file that application and you are taking steps also to meet the bail conditions, I think that the pendency of the suit will not hold off any legal steps being taken in the criminal procedure, because a fulfillment of a legal obligation or right, freeing someone of his liberty, is a legal duty on the people who are holding him. And so if you go to court, you file an application, I don't think that application should stop them from doing what they have to do under law if the circumstances avail those things.
Or ultimately, what he would have done was perhaps change the character of what they are seeking. Would have said, what you are seeking, you have already complied. You have already fulfilled it. Is that not it?
Yes, of course. We have situations where we have moot cases, right? You can have a matter pending in court and something will happen to render it moot. And this means that it is no longer relevant for the court to determine the issues that have been presented.
So the question now is, why will EOCO be telling the lawyer that because of the pendency of this application, they can't go on? And the lawyer tells us publicly that the pendency of the application frustrates his ability to get bail for his client last night. That is if EOCO is the one that told him so. But who else?
Well, we are all speculating. But if EOCO says, because you have filed an application before the court, we are no longer taking steps, the point is the bail granted? Or because of the application, they have withdrawn the bail, the police inquiry bail. Now, if the police inquiry bail is not withdrawn, but it still stands granted, then you cannot stop the accused person from taking steps to meet the bail conditions to release himself. So for me, the filing of the application, though I think some other applications, remedies are available that could have been used. The pendency of the application, in my opinion, does not stop the pleas. It does not stop the accused person from taking steps to meet the bail, the conditions of the bail that has been granted him.
Right. So they can actually be treating the bail process today and tomorrow without waiting until Tuesday, when perhaps this application will be withdrawn or will be heard, because you don't even know if the court will say 50,000 is too much. Because as we have shown, the court in recent times have given bail conditions of 200,000, 200 million, 670 plus million, and so on and so forth, right?
Yes. So it's, you see, we lawyers always want to explore remedies. In fact, we fire all cylinders, as they always say, in situations where we want to free our clients from the clutches of the law. And so for me, I don't think the lawyer has done this with all his hopes on it. In fact, it is not a guarantee that you appear before the court and you get the conditions varied. In fact, it is possible that they might be increased. But it is an avenue of redress that he seeks to initiate as a matter of time, because all legal processes, the earlier you start them, the better, especially in circumstances like this. Is
it not an urgent situation, and I'm getting into that, what some people may say is a faulty position or preposition. Is it not an urgent situation? Why urgent because it's wound to me or what? That's the question people will be asking. Where in the Martin Kpebu line of cases, the court has held that weekends and holidays should not apply when it has to do with the liberty of a person. So a bail can be treated either it is weekend or holiday. So shouldn't they, even if they want to use the court process and they want it as quickly as possible, we understand that he's not exactly well, shouldn't they be pursuing it now rather than wait until Tuesday?
Well, that's why I think we are speculating. Is there any evidence to the effect that IOCO or the security personnel are holding off on this legal process because it is a weekend? I don't think we have that. The point is, what we know is that the accused person is trying to meet the bail conditions. Whether they have had the required terms, they have had the people, the sureties, and all the things required to meet the condition is what we don't know.
No, we know for now from the perspective of the lawyer. The lawyer says Brian Champong has offered something of the value in excess of even 50 million. But the only stumbling block, as at 8 p.m. last night, was that Gary Nimako had filed an application to vary the bail terms.
Oh, if this is the situation, I think I would not agree with IOCO or whoever is detaining the person, because the pendency of the matter, we all know that pendency of a matter, the Supreme Court has just decided something in the nature of that.
We like that.
That the pendency of a certain injunction did not stop certain processes. Yeah. You see, but
that's only about injunctions. And let's be clear about it. It's not every injunction that when it is pending, it is not enforced. It is only injunctions that are against, as it were, the state or constitutional
obligations.
Exactly. So it's circumscribed. It's not general. People should not be misled.
But it's even worse if it is just a mere suit without an accompanying application for injunction, isn't it? That I sue you, and all of a sudden, the subject matter over which I sue you has to be frozen until we finish the dispute. That's not it. Otherwise, even the application for injunction, interlocutory injunction, will be useless. Because that is always done to hold off the status quo, to hold the status quo until the final determination of the matter. But be that as it may, my point is that the pendency of whatever suit has been filed should not stop the processes that has already been initiated.
You have made that point. You were saying, and I'll take you finally on that. You were saying that there are other avenues available to them. They are interested in his liberty. Can you share with us what these other avenues are so they can get him out of detention?
Apart from applying for variation of the conditions of the bail, I hear arguments to the effect that the detention of the man even now is illegal, it's unconstitutional. Okay? If it is unconstitutional, I have my personal opinion about it because the dispute is over whether he's released or not after being granted bail and waiting for the terms of the conditions of the bail to be granted. And these things are not determined by public debate among lawyers. They are determined by the court. And the court help us to know the position of the law. So these things should have gone to court. But one of the decisions, if you believe that the detention is unlawful, I think habeas corpus application is also available. Now, you can't make a habeas corpus.
They are looking for quick processes. They are looking for quick things that could get him out rather than resorting to court. I thought those were the kind of suggestions you were going to
Yes, but the quick things, like Samson, the quick things are what the lawyer is doing. In my opinion, he is focused on getting the bail terms met and get the gentleman out. And in fact, he's not going to be out as acquitted and discharged.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Hold on for us, Osman. And then, so the politics and optics of it, that the criticism that the minority is facing for hitting the streets, somebody have asked, so what they were doing was almost literally demonstration. They didn't comply with the Public Order Act. At the front of Ioko, they were sitting down. There was a police vehicle that was trying to access the building. Somebody drove a truck right in front of the vehicle, blocked the vehicle. And then yesterday too, we saw the manifestations that occurred in front of the NIB's offices. So what do you say? Some say you don't have any moral rights. There were too many of these things that happened in the NPP era, so just shut up. Yes, Hassan. And we'll be very brief about it. Go around and take a break and come to the impeachment proceedings.
Thank you, Samson. I think that we must start from a certain point and recognize that some persons, politically exposed persons and public officers, have been subject of criminal prosecutions in the past before. Talk of Dr. Stephen Opuni, Seydou Agongo, Dr. Komna Dufour Jr., Kesiato Forsen, Kudufour Senior, Collins Zonda.
Some are free, some are in jail.
Almost all of them were granted self-recognizance bail. All of them. All of them, these guys.
All of them?
Yes, self-recognizance bail.
Not true.
Dr. Samuel Ofosu Ampofo walked home after meeting his bail conditions, and they were not onerous. You understand? Richard Jakpa was also being prosecuted. He never slept in prison for a day. The bail condition, 5 million Ghana cedis, 3 sureties to be justified. The Attorney General felt that, look, if this gentleman is not able to meet these bail conditions, I'm a minister for justice as well. But the justice of the matter is that I'm going to prosecute this guy anyway. So let's release him. So he was released. Richard Jakpa never slept, in custody for one day. All these things about political promises during the heat of the campaign. And one of the things that the NDC said they would do was to come after Chairman Wontumi. And so I believe everything that has been said about Chairman Wontumi has been done by several others. Mining in Forest Reserve currently is ongoing, including even people who are chairmen, of the NDC in various constituencies. Erastus has published these things severally. Mining in forest reserves, mining without, license and so on and so forth. And so there's no offense that Chairman Wontumi is being accused of that many hundreds of people are not equally accused of the same thing. So why, are you treating Chairman Wontumi as if he's a fugitive running away from justice? This is a person who went to the police on his own. So if Ioko wanted him, they should just call him and he will come. And then he will go and come back the next day and any time. So, for instance, we are being told that issues of financial loss to the state are at stake, money laundering, human trafficking, prohibited cyber activity, tax fraud, other serious offenses which are to call, in aid, Interpol, and so on and so forth. So these are matters that you can easily bring to court. So why are we going through all these, razzmatazz? The minority was outraged not because he had been held after 48 hours, but because of the fact that the man had on his own volition presented himself to the CID and then went the next day only for him to, so the impression was being created as if this guy has gone to hide somewhere and we found him. And in a Rambo Jumbo style, we'll pick him up and then go and throw him into the cooler.
Somebody says there are better movies than Rambo today.
That is it. So that is wrong. Everything about this case creates a serious impression of a political vendetta.
Okay.
And I think that is wrong. Chairman Wontumi can be released today by the IOCO without even this matter being considered.
Some people say you are creating a very bad impression, as in the NPP, because there are times when you have to admit certain things, you don't even admit them. So that this Adenta Kumi situation, you ask your people to go there, your general secretary asks people to go there. Someone is being arrested somewhere, you call the people, all of us, let's go here. And all of the, are you suggesting that you know the intricacies of the things that these people have done and that you know that they are not guilty, or that you say for them, they should be treated with a different law. They should only be invited and not be arrested. And when the people are even being arrested, you can't even admit that they may have done something wrong, but, you know, and so on. All you are doing is outright. Everything is wrong. Everything is vendetta.
No, but see, something. Decision-making is a function of information. You don't have information about why the person is being picked up. And there are procedures, again, even if the person has committed any offenses, there are processes that you have to take the person through. So we are fighting not just the acts, but we are equally fighting the process. So the process is as good as, you know, the substantive action itself. Okay. And then let's come to this issue of, you know, Gary and, you know, and then Andia Piakubi. I didn't want to talk much about it, but the truth of the matter is that we were working based on timelines. On Tuesday, after he had left in the afternoon, he was picked up. So naturally, 48 hours would lapse in the afternoon on Thursday, all right? So we're trying to get all these, you know, bail conditions met before that time. So on Friday, Gary was instructed by Chairman Wontumi'S wife and his aide, not the party. Gary is the director of legal for the party, but he was not instructed by the general secretary or the chairman or the national council, by Chairman Wontumi'S wife.
Thanks for that information.
And so he got in touch with Honorable Andia Piakubi and was asking for updates. Where are we? We haven't been able to get all the necessary. So Gary was proposing that let's file processes, let's file an habeas corpus applications, or let's file another motion for variation of the bail conditions. Then Andy said, and according to Gary, Andy said he was in the process of doing so. Up to about 2:35, when the process was filed, I think Andy hadn't done so. So clearly, Chairman Wontumi'S wife was agitated. And she did that. She wants to see her husband, regardless of what is going on behind her. She wants to see her husband. And she wants to see the lawyers to be doing something. So if you are doing something and it's not known to her, obviously she will not be satisfied.
I see.
So she properly instructed Gary. And Gary is not a meddlesome interloper as far as this matter.
And Gary filed the application.
Gary filed the application.
2:35.
2:35.
Okay.
On Friday.
So the two of them appear to disagree.
So they were communicating.
Okay.
So it is not as if Gary went ahead to file the processes.
Andy is being accused, and the Piakubi is being accused of, because he's already shown support for Brian Echampong, because he's the first who came to announce that Brian Echampong will contest. So he wants to get some favor, or he wants to use this to create a better leverage for Brian Echampong. Because before the Brian Echampong equation came in, it was the other candidate, and then later it was Baumia, who was said to have secured 2 people and so on.
Dr. Baumia has arranged the sureties for the release of Chairman Wontumi. That has been done. His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Baumia has made arrangements for the sureties, for the release of...
and yet his lawyer is playing political ball with this. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's up to him. But I'm saying that even if he's playing politics, this is not the place to play politics. With the liberty of an individual, with the
other accusation is that your party chairman, your party general secretary, organizers, and the rest of them, they have lost touch with the people, and they are afraid that they will lose when they go for a rerun. They go for the next election. That's why they are all, any small opportunity, they want to do and show face and do all of these things. It's not genuine.
But Samson, your regional chairman, even if you were not contesting, re-election, you are not going for an election, your regional chairman has been incarcerated, and then you just sit aloof? No. They have a duty to protect members of the party, whoever is involved. That's why you find Adenta Kumi, who is not a regional chairman. He is just a full soldier. They have to go to his aid just as they will go to the aid of... To
show the grassroots that they are concerned about them.
I mean, what is a party?
So that when they come for elections, they'll vote for them.
Some of them are not even going for re-election. You understand? So for instance, we have been told that the national organizer is not contesting again. But he's there. He has a duty, he has a charge to keep until his tenure elapses. So
that aspect of the discussion, the conduct of the minority, the conduct of the party.
Clearly politics. Politics, and there appears to be some confusion. But that's their cross. Look, today Hassan says that the continuous detention of Wontumi'S, pending whatever process is in court, is unconstitutional. And he's a brother. I never heard Hassan speak in similar occurrences in the past. I never heard him.
You were there to do that for me.
But he could have done that from within.
You know, I almost ask you that.
You understand?
When, for example, Oliver was kept for a month, the demonstrators were kept for over 2 weeks, all of those things. We didn't hear you guys.
Who were saying that Galamsey should stop were detained beyond 48 hours. Nobody was saying that they had engaged in an offense involving money laundering. No. In fact, he couldn't place any sum on what they were doing. It was a mere infraction. But they were detained. They were treated like they had committed treason. So, like Dr. Asante said, this is the modus operandi of the apparatus of state. So we can say that going forward, it must change. But as for the politics, men who are served in NDC government under Jerry Rawlings 1, Jerry Rawlings 2, they were hounded from their homes when power changed. Some even in churches and prosecuted. Under Nana Akufo-Addo, it happened. My own colleagues, Kofi Adams, even in his absence, his home was stormed. John Jinapo, his home was stormed with men bearing guns as if they were going to Iraqi war. Dr. Kwamna Donko.
We are seeing that today.
Their homes were stormed. You never said that those were unconstitutional acts. You never said that even as MPs, they were not invited. They were hounded out. Dr. Ayini, the Attorney General today, he has to remain at home and make calls because his home had been surrounded. So, by all means, we can condemn these things.
Continue that way.
I am not saying we should continue, but I am saying Wontumi'S is not better than Dr. Ayini. So he has to be taken through the process. But in any case, bail has come. But I disagree that the pendency of the matter will not have an impact on the release of Wontumi'S. Because you see, Iyoko is going to contest the application.
How do you know?
Yes. Because if I've granted, no, I know as a natural matter of course that I have granted the bail terms. All right? And you are contesting that the conditions, the evidence before me, preliminary, that I considered in order to admit you to these bail terms, you are asking the court to vary that without submitting any other evidence to the court. I am going to submit those evidence before the court. These were the evidence upon which I base my exercise of discretion. So I am opposed to the application.
I think you are second guessing.
No, I'm not second guessing. No, I am speaking as a reasonable prosecutor would do. Because the prosecution, you questioned the discretion, and I said, given the gamut of facts available so far, I think the YOCO exercised their discretion favorably, or not capriciously. You disagree. Okay. And based on that, the application is before the court. So YOCO will contest the application. And perhaps, like Osman said, there's a danger that they may even ask that it should be upped, and the court may agree.
Or that they will use Andiapia Kubi's video, this footage, where he's saying that they've got more than is necessary to meet the bail conditions.
Exactly.
Except it is this application that's frustrating it. So if you go and say you can't meet it, they'll say, no, you have already told the public that you have more than enough to meet it.
In fact, you met it, but it's the court process that has frustrated it. So the court will say, you have already admitted, so go and let the conditions remain same. So that is by the way.
Okay.
Now this small point about Kabila. Kabila said, my comments amount to creating bad impression at all. Because Kabila, me as Oyome, part of the Oyome legal team, 2015, you told the NDC that we were not capable of recovering the Oyome money, even though we're still in court. That it will take Nana Akufo-Addo's government to recover the money. What impression were you creating? Even though it was the NDC that was prosecuting Oyome, which we will identify with.
Okay.
So as for making comments to create impressions,
you were making reference to me.
Yes, you have been guilty of. Because you are just telling me that me saying that Wontumi'S arrest has been long in coming because the demands have been made in the past years.
No, and you are saying that I said that the NDC.
Yes, you said the NDC were not capable of recovering the Oyome money.
I said that to you when?
You said that in 2015, I recall, I was a lawyer in the matter. And I was very furious. You can check.
Anyway,
you were doubling the NDC.
This was supposed to be quick, you know.
So you have also you take your criminal matters like this. You have said things that created bad impression. So don't accuse me of doing the same. Okay. I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. So, gentlemen, I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes, just about 2 minutes each, so that we can go and return to the other substantive matter. Yes.
You want to free yourself of cancer by going around looking for who else has cancer. I'm sorry, it is not true. But it's not true. Something I think
it's not true that you said that.
Please let me have my time.
Are you saying that you never said that?
It's not true. Let's begin to check as he speaks. So. Let's check.
Please
go ahead.
I said that you were not willing. I didn't say you were capable.
No.
Okay.
I said the government then was unwilling and was not ready.
Cannot recover.
I said you were unwilling.
No, you said we cannot recover the money. It will take Nana Akufo-Addo to come and recover it. What impression were you?
When did I say that it will take Nana Akufo-Addo?
You said it's not true. 2015. I said that it's not true. What impression were you creating?
It's a lie.
I wish somebody
I'm saying this is a lie.
It's not a lie.
This is a lie.
You said it.
Prove it.
You said it.
I'll prove it. You are like, bring it out.
You will prove it because I
said it will take Nana Akufo-Addo to come and take the money.
Said it.
That is not true. This is a lie.
Okay, thank you.
Something.
Yes.
I am surprised that it is the wife that instructed Gary. And I'm not too sure how that will stand in terms of locus. In this particular matter. When
he has locus.
Well, I'm just raising the issue.
In such instances, the person's child, spouse, parents, they have locus to stand in.
Okay.
But James is telling you that instruction from the wife or whoever cannot override instructions that
from the
man himself that he got directly from the victim or the suspect, because he was speaking to his client. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the important point I still want to make is this, that all that we are experiencing or talking about is something that we could have avoided. What is the whole business and essence of national security? To protect and guard the values of the country of the nation and also ensure that there is peace and order for us all, to live within. And I maintain that what Yoko is doing, it could have done it with the ultimate aim of getting somebody who is being investigated for wrongdoing to go through the process of law. We must never forget that in this country, we have had persons incarcerated or people kept in security custody who died without going through trial. And it's a dent on this nation's history. David Ankwa is one of them. And I say that, but for he dying without trial in jail, perhaps some of the things that I've said about him would not have been said. Can we avoid that kind of situation? The third point about the politics of it is, for me, maybe what may be internal to the MPP. I don't think that it is right that when somebody is in trouble, that is when you want to profit from. I don't think that is right.
That's what they are doing. They are seeking to profit.
I said, I don't think that to be right. If you are politicizing to gain political favor, then you want to profit.
Is that what
I don't think that would be right. So at the end of the day, the most important thing is how to get the man out. And that is where I want to conclude that Yoko cannot continue to keep him under the guise of investigating when whatever charge it is, it doesn't constitute anything that is beyond bail. I think their continued detention of Wontumi is wrong, is bad for good governance practice, it is bad for their own security arrangements, it is going to dent their own investigations in the long run, where people will think that it's political.
Okay. Yeah. But we just I try to just fact check with the banter between you and...
Yes.
So in 2015, you said that Woyomi cash will be retrieved, but not under NDC. That's what you said.
Did I mention Akufo-Addo?
Yeah.
Mention Akufo-Addo.
No, you said
please
mention Akufo-Addo.
Please.
That's what he said. He said,
I was the lawyer in the
something. Did I deny the fact that I said that?
This publication. Let me read what he said.
Withdraw. This is shameful.
My view.
What you did was shameful.
Hold on.
What you did was shameful.
Can I quote him? Can I quote him? He says, my view and my belief.
Yes.
And conviction,
yes,
due to what I saw about some big wigs in government,
yes,
is that Woyomi's money will be retrieved, but not under NDC regime. Thank you.
But something quickly, let me say that he forgotten that I went to court with persons who were then acting in the authority of the state under the NDC.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Doc,
if you have forgotten that,
a minute or two, when you say about the politics of it, people, those who have also asked these questions, are they legitimate that the manifestations we have seen are demonstrations without recourse to the Public Order Act and so on?
Yeah,
and that the minority and the NPP is behaving irresponsibly. Do you share that?
Oh, in some and just in recent past, people went to jail for that. Right? Yeah. So, I mean, some of these things. So, first of all,
people went to jail for what?
Yes.
For unlawful demonstration, unlawful assembly.
Assembly, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, on the account, first of all, this Ghanaians really are interested in accountability. They want public officers, people who work with the state, who transact with the state. If there's any challenge, they want them held accountable. That is a yearning. We just disseminated recently our town hall meetings. It's one of the issues that Ghanaians care about, because people feel that we are not equal before the law. When it comes to politically exposed persons, certain persons, they always are treated differently, and they never get held accountable. So I think we have to have that in mind in terms of, when I think of the Woyomi, I'm asking myself, in all this conversation we are having, how much of the Woyomi money did we retrieve? Because at the end, that's the most important thing.
And truly a part of it was retrieved not under the NDC, but under Dami.
So, and then secondly,
a fact
for me, government have to remember that, as Dr. Bonfe was saying, at the end, all these things have to be brought before a court of competent jurisdiction. You will be subjected to street proof, and we know that a lot of prosecutions happen. A lot of them, sometimes they don't go anywhere. Some people also are held responsible and jailed. So the process, there should be fidelity to the process. Rule of law, due process have to be always respected. And some of these Rambo-style things, people were wearing balaclavas and things covering their faces. I mean, we really need to avoid all of those things if we are going to make sure that at least the process is clean enough that it doesn't become a basis for which, you don't succeed in court. So it is in their own interest, but it's also in the public interest that it's done well. Right. And then lastly, for the MPP, we've seen, as I said, every time that there's a change of government, we see this. And then the MPP have to make a very clear calculation about how they are going to, pursue legitimate concerns about due process. That it doesn't become just a mobilization to, support our political appointees. Because sometimes even Mr. Dubois, and I'm wondering, what is the relationship between Mr. Dubois that the MPP as a party is mobilizing, to either, support his case or... So I think there's a lot of calculation, even walking out of parliament, when Ghanaians are looking for...
Any mobilization for Dubois?
Oh, I mean, in terms of the MPP's position on the Dubois case...
I'm not too sure there's...
maybe when I'm not saying mobilization in the same as Wontumi'S or...
Commentary.
Yeah, but I don't think we need to...
Okay. There's a spirited, commentary.
So sometimes I'm it just means that doesn't mean every point. So I think that calculation also have to be put...
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And even though I had, told Hassan Tampuli that what you were saying was not exactly correct, I'm now being bombarded by publications about Kwabena OFORI-ATTA that's granted 60 million cedis bail. You were mentioning all of these people, and because you mentioned Atuasian, I knew the Atuasian one. Atuforsen. Okay. Right, because Atuasian was 670 plus million. Okay.
The finance minister now.
Right. So they were not on self-recognizance bail. But he's mentioning certain people, and he's right about their situation. They were politically exposed persons, and they got self-recognizance bail without any struggle. Let me share a couple of your messages. We take a break and return to see if the Chief Justice will make any headway suspended after her colleagues, those she superintended over only about 41 days ago, looked her in the eyes and in the face and threw out her supplementary affidavit. They just threw it out that you can't do what you have done. And then the application for injunction to throw it out on both occasions on unanimous decision. Hey, Amofa says, how can the wife of Wontumi authorize a lawyer to file an application on behalf of Wontumi? Really? So that's a question you are asking. Abdullah Pegla Issa says that there are no offenses in Ghana now that are non-bailable. John Mahama is rewinding the clock to the era of military regimes characterized with unconstitutional detentions. Men of conscience should rise up, for it is Wontumi today and it may be you tomorrow. And we try to give you that education. No offense is non-bailable, but bail is not automatic. It is at the discretion of the courts. But the law says it should never be used as a punishment. Ngoliba writes, I don't understand why some of the panelists on Newsfile are making this Wontumi arrest more about Galamsey than about the offenses listed by the Deputy Attorney General. Proverbial Twitter says, so was the name of Madam
Wontumi on the suit, indicating she mandated Gary. Why Gary go pour Gary as sand into someone's bail beans? Can a lawyer represent someone without his or her knowledge? If you are put into custody, your family and relations can see a lawyer, they will represent you. Akilu Fantiakwa Begro says that this NDC government is being lenient with Chairman Wontumi. President Mahama is truly a statesman. The young musician says, I think honestly, the NDC is not being strategic. The economy is performing well and they could have capitalized on it, but see how they have allowed the arrest of Chairman Wontumi to foil the whole good news we should have around the economy. Real says today's topic should be titled The Hypocrisy of the Political Class. Yesterday, demonstrators were held in captivity without bail and all was well. Today, a politically exposed person is held to the same standard and all hell breaks loose. God bless our homeland Ghana. #Newsfile. Pray for Ghana says the sober disposition of Wontumi'S lawyer and the Apia Kubi going forward seems to be quite revealing. What has Iyoko and their foreign partners shown him that's made him grow so cold all of a sudden? Grasma One says honesty in the cacophony of noises, very refreshing. And Andy Apia Kubi has exposed the minority in parliament and the NPP leadership big time. Excellence Reign says they should go to court because this same MPP were the people telling the NDC to always go to court. But today, the same people are afraid of going to court. This is the law of karma. Okay, I think I can pause here with your messages. I've got messages from some senior lawyers coming in. I'll share a couple of them before we start the next segment. We'll be right back. This is Newsfile.
Pascal is showing his boss the efficient new technology they've installed. She's pleased. But now she's asking, why is that still there? Pascal explains the new fleet-finding darts are more accurate than the old ones. The boss is not so pleased anymore. If you haven't automated your fleet management yet, it's time to get business done better with MTN Business.
Tank, your size in Nabi, copying 35,000 liters. West Africa had here, Obiani or tanker see a chain yen. Ya yes in test tank, I'm on a wired thing. And see about to say, Chow, and so still a Juma. Oh, weather. Who bet me a check, color whoopee. Yabayamo, I won't yash. Ghana ha, if you be a year water tank and a whole day. Auto Syntex tanker. You more 7 years warranty. Syntex tank. You will lay a fitabi room. A potion room by me with the hokwaji. And your papa change your canina. Say dear, what's the dia you to my hobby? And one is Syntex septic tank. Septic tanky, your size the BRB. Syntex. Innovative, reliable, durable. Syntex tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
A tank is not a tank until it's Syntex tank.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Number 1 from here. 2 and 3 from here. 5 and 6 from here. For now. Yay. Now I have the number 7, 8, and the number 9.
You need number 10.
Please, I can't eat anymore.
I mean, number 10, liver salt.
The effective liver salt for the relief of stomach upset, heartburn, hyperacidity, and indigestion.
Would you like to try number 11?
What?
Number 10 liver salt. Refreshing relief fast. Manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemists Limited. This advert is FDA approved.
Introducing Betway's Bet Influencer, a groundbreaking feature where you can make money by just sharing codes.
He just needs to share his codes and make money. The more his codes are used,
the more money he makes.
Oh yes. So, what are you waiting for?
Anyone can be a bet influencer. Share your codes and make money.
Bet Influencer, another world first from Betway.
This advert has been approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Betway, get way more.
Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile we put Ghana first. And you still have tons of messages on the first subject, but we have to go to the next subject. However, a couple of senior lawyers' messages I'll read. Okay, so Dafiamapo should admit that the accused person is entitled to make efforts to fulfill the bail conditions, notwithstanding his protestations and the motion in court for review, and that application cannot be a fetter on the part of Wontumi to seek to comply with these conditions. Iyoko should proceed to inspect the documentation submitted and grant him bail if it meets the value. It is disingenuous to suggest that the hands of the officers are tired to proceed to grant the bail, and I am worried the lawyer has accepted this excuse. Okay, so this from a very senior lawyer. Another one also says that in criminal matters, because it is personal, Wontumi'S wife has no authority to instruct another lawyer when his husband, the subject of interest, was still in touch with his lawyer and had not personally withdrawn his instructions. So, senior, we understand that it appears, the information we are getting is that Andiapia Kubi may be projecting that he's in contact with Wontumi, but he is not. So that's another angle that is coming. That whilst Andiapia Kubi was lawyer, has been acting as lawyer for Wontumi, you will see that when he came to Accra, it was Godfrey Dami who went to represent him, and Andiapia Kubi told the media that it means that Wontumi doesn't want him to represent him again. So all issues, sort of issues are coming up. Okay, I think I can pause here and proceed with the next issues that we have to look at. And you're still here on Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis platform. My guests are Roxanne Nelson, Eche Kwame Dafiamapo, who is MP South Dai and Majority Chief Whip in Parliament, Hassan Tampuli, is MP Gushon and Deputy Ranking Member, Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament. I proudly handed over to him as President of the Ghana School of Law, SRC, James Kovena Bonfe, Junior PhD. He's CEO of Census and lecturer at UPSA. And let me say it because, look, PhD is not a joke. It's a whole lot of work. Those who want it cheap. It's not like that. Charlie, I just abandoned my Osman Al-Hassan, private legal practitioner, and Kojo Pumpuni Asante is Director Public Engagement and Partnerships at the CDD. So the Chief Justice herself on the 21st now issued a writ and had a number of reliefs that she was seeking. And then on the back of the writ, filed an injunction, went to the court unanimously dismissed. The committee probing her should continue with its work. Let's hear from you, gentlemen. This time I want to hear from the governance person first. Ojo.
Yeah, the whole removal of the Chief Justice issue is raised so many different issues around our constitution process. And I think that in a way, in a positive way, it's good that the CRC process is also happening at the same time, because I think some of the issues that it has raised, I don't think people had sort of put their minds to it. So, for example, the argument that's been made around the prima facie, issue, which I find it interesting because if you read the Constitution, when prima facie is used in this context, it's really just like an Iyoko making a preliminary determination that should I go ahead and investigate this matter. It is not in the court sense of some sort of a legal standard for saying that is there enough evidence for me to go forward and adjudicate this particular case. But in a way, the way the lawyers are talking about it, it seems like the two have been, it's almost like it's considered as a judicial process, right? So the question about should the Chief Justice have seen the reasoning of the President and the Council of State on why they decided to make a determination of prima facie, and then, proceed to propose or recommend that she be suspended. And that is a question, because if, so I think those who have even looked at like the Kenya one and so on, it just basically doesn't even use the words prima facie. It just basically says, on the face of it, these allegations that are put, are they substantive enough for you to investigate? Because the body that is supposed to be created afterwards is an investigative body that then comes to a determination and make a recommendation, to the president one way or the other. The second point is that the issue of suspension, which in a way is also then presented as a punishment, almost like, because you have made a prima facie case, we feel that you have done something wrong and therefore we are punishing you by suspending you. But the suspension, you could have easily substituted that with recusal. Because of the particular nature of the process, you are talking about investigating a Chief Justice. The idea that the Chief Justice, once you have determined that you should go further to investigate her, will still be sitting on cases and exercising her powers as Chief Justice creates so many problems for conflict of interest, for ethics, for whatever. So it makes sense that you will say, recuse yourself whilst this process is going on. So for example, in this case, Justice Tukonu, just before the suspension happened, was the one that empaneled the judges that were supposed to hear, I think the first case, the Asafwa case, for example, right? So how would she have played that role if she was still in power for all these cases that have come? That she will be empaneling justices to go and hear cases injuncting the process that she is currently being investigated for. So I think that there are like problems with the way in which the whole process has been structured. But how do you correct that while the process is going on? It's almost like you can't stop midstream and address those challenges, as it currently stands. So for me, I don't think those who make the case of a prima facie, I think the way they are judicializing the process too much, and I don't think there's merit in it.
The point is that precedents show, and I have the benefit of being involved in at least two situations. The precedents is that they would normally give a reasoned decision in the prima facie. So the prima facie can be 3 pages, 4 pages, but those I have seen, they are more than that. And you can read, and you will see in the prima facie that it says Your accuser says you have committed 10 sins. We find merit in
2, 3, 4,
3, 4, or 5 of the sins. The others, we don't think they are. So now the committee has been set up. You come and you respond to those that prima facie has been made. That's her concern. So now you say I should come. And I don't know which ones I am answering to. Is it not fair?
So that's what I was saying, that for me, the way I understand it, and what has happened since the process began, is that we are almost imposing a certain standards, almost like we are in court. You see, if you look at the way the Constitution is clear, that's why they didn't say the Chief Justice should, it should be a panel of judges that should sit on the. They said you should bring people who are not loyal, who are not this. This is obviously intended to be a process that is not judicial, or one would say it's quasi-judicial. So there are processes that at the beginning that you would say that if the president and the Council of State did their whatever preliminary, whatever, made their determination, and at the investigation stage, the investigators came and said, oh, this is the issues that we are going to deal with, right? They didn't give it to you at the time of when the determination was made. You are not going to say, well, because I didn't receive the reasoned judgment, therefore the process should be vitiated. That is where I'm having a problem with, because I think that once you do that, it means that even at the prima facie case, you can go to court and now start to interrogate or dispute the reasoning. Because what will stop the Chief Justice, for example, after receiving it, to go to the process? I don't think the grounds on which they made the prima facie is right, and therefore I am challenging it.
She also wants a public hearing. How about that?
Well, so the public hearing one, so we know that the law, at least what I've read, is very clear in terms of the fact that it should be held in camera. The argument she's making is that somehow she has an inherent right to, or inherent right, I don't know whether it's a right of speech or whatever, that she can waive. I don't think the Constitution does that. I don't see anywhere in 146 where that right is given. If that right is a general human rights, then maybe you can go to the High Court and say that even though it has not been introduced in the process. But it is not just about her rights. And this is the other thing that we have to accept about the 146 issue, because the issue, even with the high security and the challenges she's having with the security screening and all of those kinds of things, is that particularly because when this case started, the leakages has been so rampant that if you were going to succeed in holding it in camera, you needed to find something that is secure. She was saying that ordinarily is held at the court premises. But that was cases where she, as Chief Justice, she was the one conducting the investigation.
Or other Chief Justices
conducting it. But this is involving you.
They were not exactly conducting. They were only
the one that were, yes, basically, right? So it was under the supervision of the Chief Justice, one would say. So for the Charlotte Osei one or even the other one. But in this case, of course, it's you who, another committee that necessarily is not sort of the purview of the...
So why do you take it to an abandoned castle, abandoned presidential...
I don't know.
Abandoned slave dungeon or slave...
I don't think... Annex. I think I've been to the office of the president annex, I think when it was being used, and I don't know which room they are, but I don't know when they say it's cruel, like the environment. I don't know. I don't see what is it about
treated
the room.
Like she's committed some treason of sorts.
I've seen what...
That's where she stands.
I've seen how the people who were brought for treason, the police officer said, there's no anything like that. I think and just to try and wrap up, what I worry.
People may be surprised hearing from you because you wrote an article that, sought to uphold her rights.
No, my article was very clear. My article made the point that the issue that we have in terms of whether you have perception of bias of the Chief Justice is not the person that is there that is the problem. It is the governance framework we have set for the Chief Justice that if you replace this person with another Chief Justice, you are going to have the same problems because the discretionary powers. And so I think that for me, that point, but it's the issues that are being raised now, like if, for example, you are before a commission of inquiry and you think that there are problems with the rules that have been set, how do you address it? Are there mechanisms within the commission of inquiry rules that allow you to address it? Like if you say, I feel intimidated or I feel that this room, I would like this room, the committee can decide yes or no. At that point, can you go out of the process and say, go to the Human Rights Court and say, no, I cannot bear this, like I can't continue in this way and therefore intervene? I think that is where it's an interesting legal question because this process is final. Unlike other processes where you can appeal.
You can't even allow her husband to keep her company in the process.
Yeah, so within that process, that's what I'm saying.
From where you said, can you tell us what is lost if her husband was allowed to be with her?
I don't have
at least not her daughter, but not her family, but just the husband to be with her.
I don't have any problem because I think those are something I'm asking myself that in the committees, the committee is supposed to do its own rules, right? Of course, consistent.
Only the parties, the accusers, their witnesses, the accused, quote unquote, the respondent, and their witnesses are allowed, and their lawyers are allowed.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
If you make an exception to allow her husband,
that's what I'm saying. The committee, those things are very basic, and I don't understand why they exclude that, right? Even the question about whether petitioners themselves should present themselves rather than their,
witnesses.
What you would think that, yes, I want to face my accuser, right? Somebody has that right you want to make. So, but what I'm saying is that when that is going on, in a process where you cannot appeal, right? How do you deal with that? Because once the process is finished, you can't go and say you are going to appeal in this particular case. In other processes, you can go back and say, because of what went on, basically vitiate the...
Unanimously, the supplementary statement, which had all these complaints, was thrown out.
It was thrown out.
Because it was disclosing the private issues.
So, which is a very narrow way.
Was it your expectation that this will happen?
No, this is almost like a technical
knockout,
a withdrawal of the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is saying we cannot enter into. So the matters that are even being discussed has not been touched at all. But the point I just to finish off was that certainly this process has flaws, and we need to find ways to deal with it. The only issue is that as we are now, there's no way in which you can stop this process midstream in order to...
Right, so we have been told that new rules are coming up by Parliament. Yes,
which
James.
I don't know how that's happening.
Yes.
Well, for me, because I'm an interested party, I'll be careful. But it appears that
cannot do that in mystery.
A political decision was made, and we are working towards that. That's how it seems to me. Dr. Asante makes a point. It is very clear from the work of the Constitutional Review Commission's work in 2011, Professor Fiajo, Emeritus Professor Fiajo's work, the government white paper, and I think the Ajichum case, that Article 146 is nebulous in nature and needs a reconstruction. This is something that, the cited authorities have said. The president has set up a committee to advise him on how to proceed with the constitutional review process or a constitutional review process. And that is ongoing. They are yet to come up with their work. So I was hoping that we would be measured or we will be guided by this kind of background. And a bit of history will do. And perhaps maybe that's where I would disagree with my brother Asante, that if you look at the Ajay case, the Ransford France case, Justice Derry versus Tiger PI, and then the recent one, Gregory Afoko 2019 case, the Supreme Court has said that a prima facie, and in fact, the establishment of prima facie against the removal of Mrs. Charlotte Osei, Mr. Amadou Sule, who is late, may God take his soul, and then Madam Georgina Opoku-Amankwa, a certain standard has been laid as to how prima facie is established. And if you read what Dr. Barnes said in the Ajay case, for your permission, with your permission, let me read that. He said, in respect of Article 146, if once any petition, no matter how frivolous its contents are, is presented to the President, then he has a duty to establish a committee to consider it. A literal reading of the provision, therefore, could lead to the floodgates being opened for frivolous and vexatious petitions being continuously filed against a serving Chief Justice, with 2 Supreme Court judges being perpetually tied down to hearing such petitions alongside the other members of the committee that the President has to appoint. This is a scenario that would weaken the efficacy of the top echelon of the judiciary. And I mean, it goes forward to prescribe a way that in establishing prima facie, some weight must be put on the petitions that are brought. And we look at the situation in 2016, that the Chief Justice then, in considering the petitions that have been brought, in fact dismissed a number of the allegations and admitted or sustained a number of them, and then proceeded to form the committee. If you look at that narrative and look at what has happened so far, I think that is what census is in court, seeking interpretation and also enforcement, that if certain things are done, perhaps one would conclude that the way we have come is in error, and we need to arrest that. The issue of public hearing. The issue of public hearing. What is in the petition or those petitions that is already not in the public domain?
Are they in the public domain lawfully? Is it a breach that they are in the public domain or not?
In my view, in camera, in Article 1468, should have been the case for the receipt of the petitions, the consideration through all the entire process, and then to the committee throughout.
Good.
I doubt if that has been the situation.
As in,
who has done what?
It is not the who. It's about what has occasioned, what has been occasioned, or what has happened, or what we are experiencing.
If something was leaked, was it leaked lawfully? Who leaked it?
But the point is that it's leaked. It's out there in the public domain, and other things have been added.
Therefore,
and that is where I think that what.
Therefore, the Constitution should not apply anymore.
No, I didn't say that. What, in essence, the Constitution is a paper. It's a document. The law is as good as the people invited to obey and administer it. The integrity of people who interpret, people who obey, is also as important as the law itself.
There should be a public hearing.
Well, I am not there yet. I mean, I don't think we are even making an issue of the in-camera thing. That is not part of.
It's important. It's part of what she's
you want to talk about that.
That's what we are talking about. It's the case that
for me, even before we get
the injunction application that we are here.
Samson, before we even get to the issue of 1468, I am talking about 1466. The need to establish prima facie.
You concluded that.
If we have not done that, you cannot jump to 2 when you have not done 1.
You have finished that argument. And so we need to move on because of time.
Yes. So that's why I want to skip that. And I say that given the consideration, the wide public interest in this matter, what do we lose if this matter is
you breach the Constitution.
We breach the Constitution.
Deliberately.
Yes. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that the in-camera hearing means that non-disclosure to the public.
Does it matter that the same court, Supreme Court, has held that the in-camera hearing is mandatory? You can't do anything about it. Does it matter?
And I think that in the Derry...
not in Derry. This was in the Ghana Bar Association
in Derry,
versus
in Derry,
that's a Saban case.
No, Derry pleaded that the in-camera thing had been breached. The court held that, notwithstanding the airing of
it doesn't
invalidate the issue. That's the point I want to lean on. That at this stage, once the matter has become public, making sure the entire public is kept doesn't take away anything.
So the court should go and endorse the illegality and the unlawful things that have happened.
I have not said so. I have not said so. This is a matter that has generated public interest. At the end of the day, her spouse issues and all those things, I don't want to go into them. What I believe is that dealing with the Chief Justice and her removal, or the removal from office of the Chief Justice, has weightier impact on our constitutional dispensation than the way we are considering it or the way we are going about it. And if we went about it properly, I don't think we will be here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Roxanne.
Yes.
So she makes one point where you could say that's a very important point.
In fact,
because if you said, hold on, if you said, as for prima facie, there are no hard and fast rules about it. Like Dr. Pomponi said, I can determine the way I want to do it. I can decide that I'll just write one sentence or one line and say a prima facie case has been made. But she says that some of the allegations against her, some of her peers, the judges sitting on the committee, were on the panel of those cases, or they have dealt with some of those cases. So let them recuse themselves. Reconstitute this committee. That's why he dissolved the committee, because Justice Puaman, Justice Adibu, they have dealt with some of the cases. What if somebody wants to call some of them as witnesses? And in fact, one of them has indicated that if he's given the opportunity, he will call one of them as a witness. Imagine that the chairman of the panel is being called a witness. Is this not some place we can all agree that it's a fair point she's making in the court?
Well,
let's hear him. I'll come to you.
Okay.
Now, it may be a fair point if it's demonstrated that it will have some prejudicial implications for the outcome. But the standards for that has been set long ago in Salah versus AG, number 2. So that was edge on the court. Now, this prima facie determination debate is a principle or the law that confers us in Act 30 in criminal prosecution. The prosecutor, when a complaint comes, the prosecutor doesn't straight go to court. He's mandated in law to make a prima facie determination. Then he will charge. No standard was provided as to how that should be determined. Then this found its way in the Constitution. This was a provision that was hardly used until within the past 10 years or so. Now, the debate has been whether or not some guidelines should be provided. So, Adechum clearly has the decision provided some guideline. Now, the concern of the CJ for me is it's a concern that I think can be dealt with when she's giving her testimony. Why?
For the committee.
Because you have been provided with a copy of the petition to respond to, and you did. And after that, a prima facie determination was made. So all the matters that you responded to within the gamut of all the petitions are now in your bosom. You have answered the issues one after the other in your response. Notwithstanding, the decision has been made that a committee should be instituted for you to come and speak to the matters. So, if I were her, I'll just carry the response I gave before the prima facie determination.
Go to the committee.
And deal with it before the committee. If there's a need for me to provide further and weightier materials to support my objection to the petition being heard on its merits, I will do.
What I know is that often the main petition and then the response that is brought, they form the basis of the committee's hearing.
Good. So that becomes, like in parliamentary language, that becomes the travaux préparatoires. That becomes the basic documents the committee will deal with. So I'll be prepared on all the matters that are contained in any of the petitions adequately. Indeed, if there's a need for me to provide further information, like I said, you always ask for an adjournment. Or you prepare in such a way that during cross-examination of your accusers, you put those matters across. Okay. The other issue, which for me falls within Order 20 Rule 9 of CI 47, is the content of the affidavit that the court...
Supplementary.
Yes.
So in actual fact, let's let our audiences know that affidavit is as if it doesn't exist. Because it doesn't form part of any process in the court.
It took a judicial process for that to be hacked.
Okay.
So the contents were vexatious and scandalous. So the court thought that we can't proceed with this.
No,
that's not the reason.
They breach the in-camera requirement.
Article 1468.
That's why it was.
That was what the court based on based its decision.
Yeah, because you have attended an in-camera process, which nobody is supposed to know, but you have brought information from the in-camera to the court.
But you see, under CI 4728, content of an affidavit, you can, as somebody deposing to you, can actually speak to a matter when it is a matter of fact. So there I would disagree with the court. My problems with the affidavit was rather it was vexatious. Some of the matters were simply not necessary to confront a court.
Like which one?
Like saying that the walls around the place was high security. I mean, what has this got to do with they were not necessary.
It's a statement of fact.
Yes, but
you just said that she can allude to statement of fact.
I'm saying that, but now will tell you that these are vexatious. You don't come to court with this matter.
Vexatious?
Yes.
How can that be vexatious?
When a proceedings is held in a premises, in a secured premises.
Wait until you find yourself hold up in a very high wall.
But Castle is a presidential. It's an annex to the presidency.
Oh, really?
Yes, but it is. Not really. These are matters of state.
And the Chief Justice has been hauled before a facility like that?
But there has been the president who sat in the castle and governed this country for nearly 20 years. Hold on.
These proceedings could have taken place at the Jubilee House.
Good. But I'm saying. No, but hold on.
What you are saying?
Hold on.
Do you remember where the Ayawaso were gone? Ayawaso West were gone. Hearing were held. That's where it was held.
But that one is a public thing.
Okay.
What do you mean it's a public thing?
Yeah, but the room. But everybody processes situations differently.
And there were people,
she's feeling a trauma. She's feeling certain trauma over this process. A lawyer is not being allowed and all of that.
Very restricted facility.
Okay, quickly.
Restricted.
The point was made that all previous proceedings were superintended by the CJs. So they found the judicial court premises convenient. Do you know how people fear to enter court premises? Do you? You have no idea. You are a trained lawyer, so you take it whimsically. You take it for granted. There's some heavy sense of trepidation when people are entering court premises. But they were gone there. Now, Justice Derry and co., they were not even giving copies of their petitions. They even went to court to ask for it. They were not giving. Prima facie determinations were made. They went to court. They tried to injunct it. They were in court over 80 times. It never happened. So this Article 146 issues We cannot sit down and say that we can look at it. But by all means, that is the provision in the Constitution for dealing with this matter.
Right.
The CJ herself had mandate under law to discipline other lower court judges. She recently disciplined a Jessica Circuit Court judge. Why? Somebody brought a petition on grounds of misconduct and abuse of power. What did she do? She referred it to the disciplinary committee of the Judicial Council. They went into the matter. They made adverse recommendations against the judge. Based on that, she, as the head of the Judicial Council, with the legal architecture available, she fired the judge. The judge went to court to challenge it, though. But the CJ exercised their powers.
All right. Thank you, Roxanne. And this program or show is brought to you by the candidate sponsorship of Bank of Africa, as strong as a group and close as a partner, MTN everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 33 plus years. My Way Insurance, dial *165# on MTN to join My Way today. Flamingo Paints, simply superior. Syntax Tanks, it's strong, it's tough. Activa International Insurance, our clients, our passion. And International Facilities Management Association, they are proud to be associated with Newsfile. And my outfit, as always, by Konati Clothing. You can call them 0244 676732. Konati Clothing, 0244 676732. And ahead of the Muslim festivities and the holidays, they are giving you a 10% discount. So just call them and they will make you look good. And those of us who are friends who are Muslims, it's not all the time that you should wait for them to do and bring you meat. You can look for a good shirt and give to them.
Waiting for. That's the only way.
So just call 0244 676732 and Konati Clothing will make your friends look good. Yes, Hassan.
Yeah, so 2 days holidays.
Yes, Hassan Tampoli.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so did you expect that? Some say what happened in the courtroom should give you a sense that the judges particularly they have decisional independence, that they looked in the eyes and in the faces or in the face of their boss, so to speak. Of course, they are equals, except that one becomes a chief justice. And they looked in her face straight. She was sitting there. I entered the courtroom and my gaze was on her. And they said, "You are wrong. First time. Second time, you are wrong. Unanimous. Everything gone."
Samson, I think that this matter is one that is bringing some amount of doom, putting some huge damper on our constitutional democracy. Ever since 1963, when Justice Seyaku Kosa was removed as Chief Justice by the Nkrumah regime, this is the first time that we are seeing a Chief Justice being shoved aside in the manner that the Chief Justice, Justice Tokono, was put aside. There have been instances where issues of, removal of Chief Justices have been raised, but this is the first time after Seyaku Kosa. Even during the military regime, we have seen military coup d'etats have taken place, but the judiciary continues to remain the united factor as far as, this country, Ghana, is concerned. So after the military coup d'etat, the executive is deposed, parliament is dissolved, but the judiciary continues to remain. And we have had instances where Chief Justice Apalu, for instance, has served under different regimes. Military coup d'etat comes in and then he continues to be in office. Another one comes, he continues to be in office. All the way, he served under 3 regimes. One in Dr. Hilal Liman and then 2 in different military regimes before Dr. Hilal Liman and then during the Rawlings regime. So if you look at the Constitution, it's not for nothing that the framers of the Constitution have made some provisions under the judiciary what's the name?
146.
No,
Independent constitutional bodies.
Yes. So those provisions that are not easily amendable.
Okay, entrenched
provisions. Article 125, Article 127, Article 145, and 146 are the only entrenched provisions under the entirety of the judiciary. And so they should tell us something, that these provisions are put there based on our history and as a future guidance as far as this our nation is concerned.
So what? They should not be used if people trigger them?
So they can actually, and the Supreme Court has said it plainly in the Electrochem case, that notwithstanding Article 127 on judicial independence and so on.
My apologies to Osman in advance. We have only 2 minutes to end the show.
Article 127 and all of that, Article 146 continues to endure. But what is important for me is that I have seen 3 petitions. The one from my own classmates at the law school, Yakubu Ayamga, the one from Daniel OFORI, and the one from Shining Stars. Now, all these petitions, if you look at the heading, petition for the removal of Chief Justice. This is Ayamga. Petition for the removal of Honorable Chief Justice. That is Daniel OFORI. And then the last one, Shining Star, petition for the removal of Chief Justice of the Republic. Now, are we saying, for instance, that these petitions,
love the petitions.
That's why we said that this matter should be put out in the public domain. Are we saying that
you are saying that the Supreme Court should violate the Constitution by saying that where some people have done a wrong, you should go ahead and endorse it? Is that what you're saying?
You see, are we saying, for instance, that it's enough that we give effect to Article 1468, even in something untoward is happening? Are we shutting the door of justice to anybody because the Constitution says that it must be done, in camera? Where is the justice of this matter?
All right.
The Chief Justice has approached the Supreme Court's fountain of justice.
I'm sorry, but this all time
as a humble supplicant to a police,
this all time will allow us
that my rights have been violated.
I'm very
sorry. The trial is being undertaken like an ACDR matter.
Eche Kwame Dafiama Paul, Hassan Tampuli, James Kwabena Bonfe, PhD, Osman Al Hassan, my apologies to you, and then Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante. Thank you very much. But when are the rules you are going to make? When are they coming out?
Something. You haven't treated me fair. This matter. I'm sorry. My say is the most important. My say is the most important.
Yes.
She's coming. She's coming.
Oh, it's in.
She's coming.
I know. Go to the pharmacy now.
She's coming. Oh. She's here.
Pay faster, pay safer, and pay easy with Momo app. Download now and pay with the QR code, merchant ID, and so much more.
Introducing Betway's Bet Influencer, a groundbreaking feature where you can make money by just sharing codes.
He just needs to share his codes and make money. The more his codes are used,
the more money he makes.
Oh yes. So, what are you waiting for?
Anyone can be a bet influencer. Share your codes and make money.
Bet Influencer, another world first from Betway.
This advert has been approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Betway, get way more.
The EcoBank JoyNews Habitat Fair 2025. Dream it. Own it. Live it. Coming soon.
Because a lot has been said about the wellness, but it does not stand out clearly as the subject for discussion, because oftentimes people see it mental health, and that's where the stigma comes in strongly. But if we associate the wellness aspect in our discussions as the leading or the driver, I think it will do very well for all of us. The second point is I think we need to bring out a clear distinction between mental health and wellness and mental health disorders and illness. That distinction, we need to drum it home, because as we are sitting here now, we are all displaying varying degrees of mental health and wellness. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that contribution. Madam, you have a question? Okay, that's fine. Okay, we've done two. Okay, yes, sir. Your name, please.
My name is Caleb Kofi, and I'm a mental health advocate, president of the Service Excellence Foundation. I want to also thank our panelists for a very great insight they've shared. My question to the is about the academic or the school institutions, how well is team also putting forums together to drive home the issue of mental health at the educational level? Because often than not, you see the results of our SHS and the results of other school institutions not doing very well. And when you trace it, they will say, oh, but you go through it, a lot of children also go through a lot of things, and that affects their educational performance. Hence, they don't actually come out well. So is there a program that also extends to the school institutions so that they are studying? There are other areas that can be looked at, and especially as well, a framework, a policy.
Okay, you'd have to hold the microphone well. Move it up a little bit. No, where your hand is. Move it towards the neck of the microphone. Yes. Well, it's too high, but let's manage that.
Is it okay?
Yeah, let's manage, yeah.
So I'm just concluding that if there could be some kind of a policy framework at the school level where even students can actually have the platform to articulate what their issues are. It should impact the educational, score or something.
Okay, that's more of a suggestion, right? Is it a suggestion?
Well, if they can respond to it, that's fine.
Okay, ma'am.
All right, so I would want to handle the second question from the doctor. The difference between mental health and wellness. So according to WHO, mental health is a state of well-being where an individual realizes his or her potentials and abilities, can cope with your stresses very well, can work productively and fruitfully, and then can contribute meaningfully to your society. So that is the definition of mental health by WHO. Wellness, on the other hand, is broad, and it has so many dimensions in terms of your physical, psychological, social, spiritual, occupational, and what have you. So I feel that at this particular moment, emphasis is more on mental health. And like you said, in future, I believe Jahara will host something similar to wellness, and then we can get the difference clearly. Thank you.
All right. Dr. Collins Beduajaman, he's a senior faculty. He's a senior faculty at the Department of Psychology of the University of Ghana. He wants to respond to the academia question with regard to whether there are forums like these for students as well.
To be able to. So that was a very good question, because
I have my colleague here, Professor Nibo Ekwashi, and he's an adolescent mental health